GCC, how GCC works, and the kind of role that the leadership team is playing in GCC. And I was really surprised, that Hyderabad is picking up, more in terms of having the GCCs in place. So compared to Bombay, Bangalore, and Pune. So that was really interesting GCC stuff. And then I've seen the Unicorns Expo there, people here, there, people have tried to sold me, and I become an emotional buyer thanks to them. And yeah, it was interesting, a lot of learning from them how to make a sale. Yeah, thank you.
Unicorns, somebody is very happy, I'm sure, on the stage. Yeah, see here, we have one more person to share experience.
So I'm from Anjali Bhatmanda. I'm from the ICFI incubator. We were also volunteering yesterday. One of the best segments I found, like the other speaker also said, was the GCC. It was very enlightening. Post-lunch session, they kept us in splits, and it was very intelligent discussion where it was across all the verticals, whether it was a bank or whether it was a technology company. We had the stalwarts from Warner Brothers. We had from AT&T, and the speakers just kept us captivated because I like the way in which they combined what they're doing for startups and how they can, take startups into their business and pole vault, not leapfrog. And they gave a lot of use cases, which I found very interesting. Made us think that if you are in business, you can also be an entrepreneur and sell your company for very high valuation and move on. So, and yeah, Hyderabad is picking up. Thank you.
I would like everyone to have their thoughts because we are going to come back again and again between these sessions. So Vishala, there is another person who wants to share experience. Do we have one more chance, or do we need to come back? Okay, so here we go, another lucky person to share experience.
So I attended many events like in last 1 year, like starting with IIT Bombay and Mangalore, Emerge, then Razorpay, like their own FTX, then Delhi, Startup Mahakumbh.
Are you saying we are the best?
Content-wise, yes, but it should be celebrated more, I guess.
Right. We take that feedback. Like, we are going to have excited more and more sessions. And to be frank, the thing that you see there, please don't miss that symphony. You don't know what you will be missing if you miss that. Anything else to share before I move?
Yeah, I really liked some startups, like they're replacing fuel with hydrogen fuel. So like we really want to invest in those kind of startups, like actually reducing the harm on the nature. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm hoping whoever our startups are hearing this. Yep.
It's my august privilege to introduce you to the host for this particular morning. I think you're hosting the show, right? You're not? And
we are more than happy, but I think we will give opportunity to Vishala.
Yes. So may I introduce Vishala?
Yeah, please, for your roundtable.
Give me a second. I need to take some photos. Okay.
Then let's go ahead.
And I think we will entertain you in the meanwhile till we have the host ready.
So, see here,
okay. Yes. Oh yes. Please. Can we have? You want to share some experiences from yesterday, ma'am? Yes.
Hello, I'm Geeta Murthy. Just superannuated, so I'm super excited for this 3-day festival. And yesterday was an awesome day. I reconnected with few people whom I knew already. And the sessions were very, insightful. I learned a lot yesterday. And I think I also learned that they are very, very young unicorns here, so today I want to visit them. It's been a wonderful journey yesterday and today.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I think here we have another one here, please.
I am Sushma. Actually, I'm the CTO for Maganti IT Solutions. We are a company from US. However, we have a company in India as well. I mean, we are seeing the economy is booming back in India. So that's where our shift has been focused. So we are growing. And yesterday, having the GCC panel understood what's been happening in India and how we can partner in ways with them to grow is an eye-opener. Because we do that back in US, and doing it in India is one of the areas that we are looking to grow. And I really appreciate many people. I see one of the panelists here right in front of me. So I would really like to stay connected with him. Yeah, I did connect with many of them yesterday, and I really am looking forward to have a conversation further upon to build upon what we can do together here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that feedback. How many people that watched the dance, classical dance, which was there at the end of the event? I know we kind of stopped it in between, but I hope you enjoyed it. So in case you want to understand who are those students, all right, you need to visit One World, One Family stall, which is available in Expo. Please do visit. There is good amount of work which is going on in terms of each one educate one. So that's something that we all should contribute. So make sure you visit that stall in Expo.
Thank you so much, Jyoti, and it's my august privilege to introduce our host for this plenary, Ms. Vishala. She's a dynamic entrepreneur and a very inspiring lady. And over to you, Vishala, and have a great morning.
One more introduction. So we call her as Millet Queen, right?
Yes.
So Millet Queen is here, so you need to focus on stage. Thank you. Over to you, Vishala.
Okay. Yeah. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Jyoti and Rumana, for such an engaging conversation and keeping our audience energetic. And always it is very big challenge to host the first day of the first session, like, you know, people are joining late and somebody is on the way. And yeah, and sorry for the delay. My apologies for all the speakers also who have come on time at 9 o'clock itself. And this is Vishala. I'm founder of Millet Bank, but I'm also a volunteer at ISF. As you know, all of us, like, you know, ISF is managed by 100% volunteers. We don't even have one staff. So it's great energy since yesterday, and we have one more day to go. And we've already hosted, we have 9 roundtables at ISF, and this is one of the unique features of ISF, where we invite multiple industry experts to come and share their experiences and insights, which we make it as a policy paper and submit it to the respective state and central governments. So generally roundtables happen in a closed conference rooms, but in ISF we also have opened it to the few audience, and while the panelists discuss and they share insights on the policy framework, you will also get to listen, and also you will get to ask certain questions also at the end. And without much delay, I would like to invite our chair, Ramakant Desai ji. Ramakant sir is founder CEO of Tattva Innovation Labs, and he is chairing the FinTech Roundtable now. And Mr. Anindya Karmakar, Head Digital ABS LMAC and Head Digital and Analytics Aditya Birla Capital ABC. You can see the introductions behind. And you all know Ramesh sir, Ramesh Loganathan. How many of you know? Another energetic energy bomb in Hyderabad, and Ramesh is joining us on the panel. Ramesh is professor and co-innovation and outreach at IIT Hyderabad and general partner Succeed Innovation. And before that, Ramesh was the president of HYSIA. And we have Sunali Rohra. She is joining in a while. She is senior EVP HDFC Bank. And we have Mr. Vishnu Chundi, and founder and CEO of Asset Vault. And we have Mr. Anil Philip, General Manager, OSB India Private Limited. And with that, I would like Chair to take over the session, and probably I need 1 or 2 volunteers to remove 2 chairs from here, please, on the stage.
Can you hear me? Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. So it's always a pleasure to be the first panel in the morning because you get the best attention. But it's also a challenge because you get the most challenging questions, right? Everybody is attentive. Anyhow, we started our fintech journey. I would say India started around 2015, but at least from the industry perspective, we started getting involved. The companies started getting together and then forming associations and trying to understand the implications of this, not only for the enterprises, but also for the common man at large, okay, from 2017-18 onwards. We had the first FinTech forum in Bangalore, in Hyderabad, way back in 2018, under the leadership of J. Chaudhary at that time. And I attended that at the time. And again, we organized many FinTech forums, both in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Tamil Nadu, in Chennai, which is part of Tamil Nadu, of course, and then in Calcutta and Delhi, all of together. And we have formed a lot of special interest groups as a part of that FinTech forums. We created various interest groups around lending tech, wealth tech, AI, cybersecurity, etc. And then there are many youngsters who are participants in those groups and they actively contribute to that. So now today we have a very interesting panel, very experienced panel with us. So I would rather listen from them and then understand the implications, how the industry has evolved, what are the latest trends, okay, and where is it that the entire industry is moving forward. So let us start with the introductions from India, then go around.
You want me to give some opening statements?
Yeah, please, opening. Oh, you want me to make an opening statement?
No.
Okay. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Whatever you. First you
introduce myself. Okay. Hi, I'm Anandya Karmakar, about 2.5 decades in the financial services industry. I started with consumer lending with a company called City Financial way back in the late 90s, and cut my teeth in lending, so everything in lending which had to be done. We in fact were the founder members of the company. We took it up from a very small company to a very large company, post which, hello. Yes, no, I think it's fine. I did some life insurance. I was, running the life insurance business for ING Life Insurance for West India. Then I moved to ICICI Bank. I started with heading their wealth management business. So lending to life insurance to investments. Then back to lending. I've been with AgriTech Birla Capital for now 6 years. Was heading the digital lending business. Then the housing finance, business, all the non-sales functions. Now I head digital and analytics for the entire group, AgriTech Birla Capital. AgriTech Birla Capital is comprised of life insurance, health insurance, lending, housing finance, mutual funds, and stock broking. So digital and analytics for the group, as well as I head digital for the mutual funds company. So that's about myself.
I'm Ramesh Loganathan. I'm a faculty at IIT Hyderabad. I've been in the tech industry for a long time, and in US and in India. I moved to Hyderabad in 2000 to join a startup in the early days of Java. There was a Java app server startup based out of Hyderabad. So moved here, joined the startup. And then been here since. Part of the company got acquired by a Boston-based company and was running that lab for many years. In parallel, I was also started engaging with IIT as adjunct faculty from 2002. And then after 14 years, in 2016, I moved as regular faculty. I'm a faculty at IIT Hyderabad. And I involve a lot with startups. IIT Hyderabad has a lot of research and research-led innovation and research-led solutions. So I anchor some of those efforts. And IIT also is home to one of the largest incubators in the country, academic incubators, CIE, which is the reason T-Hub happened on our campus. Because of CIE, we helped structure and start T-Hub on our campus before they moved to their permanent building. And so I'm very involved with research. I'm involved with a few other academic institutions. I also teach at IIT Hyderabad. I've been involved with other incubators, BITS, IIT, IIT Delhi, and a few others. Try to do something. I consider it to be a disastrous failure at JNTU. It just didn't work out, but spent almost 6 years trying to get some innovation programs at JNTU, university-wide programs. Anyway, so that's my world, industry, academics, and startups. So more later.
Thank you, sir. Good morning to all of you. I'm Anil Philip. I'm the General Manager for OSB India. OSB stands for One Savings Bank. I've been in the financial industry for about 20 years, 2 years in insurance and 18 years in the banking sector. So the bank that I work with right now, we got about 35 billion in assets. We got about 2,000 employees, 1,000 in the UK, 1,000 in India. So we kind of manage the assets out here. So I've been into the UK, Europe almost every year for the last 18 years. And I can say that, FinTech in India is far more advanced, far more ahead than most of the countries that we call as developed countries. So we are at a good place and people are coming right now out here looking out for solutions, and we are at the right place at the right time. Thank you.
So, namaste. I'm Vishnu Chundi. I've been a FinTech employee now to a FinTech founder. So I did my undergrad at BITS Pilani and then did a research at the University of Geneva on quantum cryptography. That is how I got into this whole world of tokenization and digital assets, cryptography, Bitcoin, blockchain. And then one of my heroes was Professor Stephen Hawking. So I wanted to go to his college at Cambridge and study nanotechnology. I had the honor of meeting Professor Hawking a few times. And then I got sucked into the wonderful world of FinTech in London, where I was the first product manager at the UK's first FinTech unicorn. That is when I saw the power of FinTech and what you can do. And after that, I started an MBA at London Business School, and on day one, set up my company called Asset Vault. We're headquartered in London with a couple of offices in India. Recently in India, we've also launched a new will writing brand to help Indians with succession planning. It's called Asan Will. So that's me in a nutshell. Hi, thanks to all of you for the nice introduction. So I'll just give a brief snapshot of the industry, how it has evolved. Can anyone believe that there are 23 unicorns already in the FinTech space today in India and another 20 or 25 unicorns? Okay, that's the kind of evolution which has happened in the last just 6-7 years. Okay, and all of us know already the impact of UPI. UPI is not only prevalent in everyone's life, but it also going to become prevalent and relevant in even the lives of other countries very soon. The way the Aadhaar, the India stack, and the entire digital public infrastructure has evolved is going to give a big fillip to the entire FinTech industry in India. And there are a lot of new frameworks which are coming up, like account aggregator framework, open credit enablement network, ONDC. I'm sure you must have heard of all of these terminology already in the press and things like that. And they are becoming common adoption themes across the board. Okay, so without much ado, and there are almost 3,000 startups in the country today. And you take every space, whether it is wealth tech or whether it is investment management side or whether it is lending tech or whether it is payments. Of course, all of us know the success of payments industry already, or in cybersecurity, or in some of the AI impacting finance industry, both the legacy banks as well as the new emerging banks. So there is a whole lot of evolution and development which has already taken place in the country. We are soon going to see our own completely digital banks in the country, which is already happening. And RBI is also thinking of, CBDC, which is essentially a digital currency. Some of these we are going to see in our lifetimes becoming a commonplace within the next 5 to 8 years. So from that perspective, I think the way the entire industry is evolving is one of the fastest growing. It is almost growing at 25 to 30% every year. Okay, and some of the sectors like lending tech and wealth tech are growing even at a higher pace. Okay, so what we will do is we'll go around the panel, and we have got varied experience across various sectors. We'd like to hear their views on how the space is evolving, what are the challenges, what are the policy guidelines. Our government is doing a lot of stuff, not only central government, but even the state governments are doing a lot of stuff. So how the government policies are emerging, and what are some of the challenges? Okay, we'd like to go around the table. So first, let me start with Anindya. Anindya is a veteran in the entire fintech, in the financial services space. So Anindya, how do you see fintech emerging in the complete financial services space, whether it is wealth tech or insurance space, or what are some of the startups you see, and how is the potential? And also opportunities for youngsters to look at new opportunity spaces.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
There is a lot in that question. It's very difficult to figure out where to start and where to end, but let me attempt to give an answer which may resonate with all of you. I think first thing to understand and realize is that doing anything in the financial services space is does not lead to an overnight success. It takes time. And the best way I can explain that is to take the example of two institutions that all of you have heard about. One is HDFC Bank and the other one is Bajaj Finserv. And I want to talk about the valuation. We obviously, valuation is one of the success criteria which is widely used. I'm going to talk about the last 15 years. I'll start at 2008, which is pretty much when some of you would remember the financial crisis happened, and 15 years down the line. So for the first 10 years, so HDFC Bank was valued at $8 billion in 2008. 10 years down the line, 2018, it was valued at about $80 billion. So it has moved about 72 billions. And in the next 5 years, it moved to $165 billion. So it kind of added the same valuation in about 5 years. And same happened with Bajaj Finserv. It was about $2 billion in 2008. It moved to about $14 billion in 18 and 32 at 2023. So you can see there's a compounding which happens, but it takes time. When you look at the fintech industry, I think as Ram mentioned, 3,000 plus, somewhere I heard about 10,000 plus startups are there, and 3,000 of them are fintechs. If you look at the fintechs, they're about $100 billion in valuation, $100 billion, and that has largely happened over the last 10 years because of multiple factors, and I'll touch upon that. Whereas the banks, the big banks, all the private and the public sector banks that if you put together is about $600 billion. So 100 billion fintechs, which has happened in 10 years, banks about 600 billion happened in 30 to 50 years. Why am I stating these numbers? Because now in the next 5 years for the fintechs, we can expect things to really take off in a very big manner. It has already taken off, but it will take off. And why do we feel that it will take off in a much bigger way? Because there are certain tailwinds, which this country has created for the fintech space. Firstly, I think this is something which is common for every company, every industry in the digital space, which is your smartphone penetration. We all understand that is driving pretty much everything today. Smartphone penetration in rural India, which is kind of doubled in the last 3 years, and of course the number of people who are using internet. So that's one part of it. The second part is this whole India stack story that we have heard about, the digital public infrastructure. And I think 3 of them Ram mentioned, which is account aggregator ONDC OCIN. But of course, it started with your Aadhaar, then your UPI, and the entire India stack, which got built upon that. Now, this has created a foundation for a country of 1.4 billion people, where all innovations are happening. And of course, there are many more which are coming. There are almost 20 plus digital public infrastructure, which is there in India. Some of them are work in progress. And in the insurance side, on the lending side, on the wealth tech side, many of them, right? So this is the second, piece. The third piece, I think, which is going to be the story for India for the foreseeable future, is the penetration of financial services. And I think compared to some of the global advanced economies, you would find that penetration in India is very, very, small, in single digits in most of the cases. And that, of course, again, takes time to grow, simply because your financial service is actually a story of how much of disposable income you have, right? So insurance, investments, it comes from your disposable income. And your per capita income, till the time it does not grow and reach a threshold and then crosses that, the growth does not happen. And so we are at very close to the threshold of $5,000 of per capita income. And you would see, and typically this is what we have seen in China, when you start crossing a certain threshold, things start taking off again in a spectacular manner. And so we are very close to that. So the penetration is the story which is going to drive, some of these things. Right, so this is, where we are. And now when you talk about, so this is the opportunity at a very high level. When you talk about in every space, there is an opportunity for the fintechs. And let me give you one example each: in insurance, in lending, and in wealth. So in lending, we know that there is a large percentage of population, which is called NTC, new to credit. I think it is close to about 200 million, about 220 crores of people who are new to credit. It's a large opportunity again. And if we have the time, we can dive deeper into how this, fintechs can enable that. But that's one clear area. On the insurance side, I think the government has started. Hello.
You have to keep it like
started
this.
Talking about insurance for all by 2047. And we have things like Bima Sugam, which that's again another digital public infrastructure. And the penetration of insurance in the tier 2, 3 and the rural areas is basically the large opportunity. Again, we can talk about, if time permitting, where fintechs can play a role. On the wealth side, I think we have seen a tremendous growth, simply because there's an India story. There is money coming in. I'm sure if some of you are keeping track, you would have seen in the last 3 years, the deposits in the banks, which is the sum of current account, savings account, and fixed deposits. It has come down by almost 15%. I'm talking about absolute terms. And the money is actually going into investments. A large part of that has gone into stockbroking, and another part is going into mutual funds. Now, what's happening to that money in terms of whether people are making money or not? There's a lot of you would see noise in the social media. We'll not get there, but the point is that there are avenues today for people to make wealth, and there are all kinds of people. Starting with people who start with 100 rupees SIP, to people who are investing 50 lakhs to 1 crore on an average. Of course, the money, the investment now goes multiple times above that as well. Everything in between 100 rupees and 1 crore, right? There is an opportunity, and how we want to tap that opportunity is again a big story for, and fintechs can play a big role. If I have another minute, I will just kind of touch upon what I'm seeing, happening, right? So there is a lot of so when we talk about fintech, we typically think about D2C, but that's not really the story of fintechs. In fact, in India, a lot of the fintech success stories in the B2B space, in the SaaS space, because companies need help in terms of leapfrogging, pole vaulting, whatever we may want to call it, and that's where a large play of fintechs is happening. So I just thought I'll mention that before I hand this over to Mr. Ram.
Thanks, Anindya. That was a great overview of the entire financial services space. Okay, and the new emerging spaces which are coming in that. Especially lending tech is taking off in a big way. It's supposed to be one of the biggest potential areas. There is almost close to $600 billion gap in terms of SME funding today, which can be bridged by all the HNIs who are all sitting there. Okay, and then now let us move on to the next question, next topic of discussion within the fintech space. There are a lot of technologies which are evolving and impacting the entire fintech space. Obviously, we have all heard of AIML, cybersecurity. I mean, these are all being heard of over the last 8 to 10 years already. But none other than our own professor can give a bigger glimpse into the emerging technologies like quantum computing and others, which are going to impact not only FinTech, but in general, the other startups as well. But particularly with respect to FinTech. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure, Ram. Yeah, like you said, I mean, there's a lot of attention to AI in the last couple of years, especially with ChatGPT and LLMs and such. But like you rightly said, they didn't land from the skies overnight. Even the current technology that is so hot have been around for 7, 8 years, 10 years, right? Companies have been playing around with it. Just there's a huge hype around what's happening right now. And there's a lot of FOMO, and so everybody is clamoring to go do something. Nobody wants to be left behind. But thankfully, I think the hype is settling. There are reports already that says like less than 1 out of 10 enterprise projects have succeeded in their efforts to adopt LLMs and such. It's not that magical as people think, that you just take an LLM and like you can make it do anything you want, fire people, right? It's not. Like with any technology all through the years, it enables and it kind of automates some functions, but it's expensive. And so which means that the right problems where whether it is an optimization or improvement of efficiencies or accuracies or such, for the right problems, companies would invest and get them built because it is expensive to build. And expensive to run is a different problem, but it's expensive to build. So it means like, well, yes, in theory you can do anything, but in practice it's not going to happen like it didn't happen. Like we've had all the people talk about in the early days of BPM that like whole BPO industry will be fired. In the early days of RPM, we had the exact same predictions. Early days of AI, I mean like some top tier analyst firms that predicted that in India in 4 years we will lose 50% jobs. If anything in those 4 years we added 50% jobs, right? Forget losing 50% jobs. I don't think any job was lost. And quite to the contrary, we added 50% jobs in those 4 or 5 years. And so same thing. So all those are all on the other side, right? Those doomsday predictions don't happen. Value is possible. Not just LLMs is, of course, overrated, but there are all kinds of AI. It could be simple conversation, a lot of computer vision coming into play, a lot of just machine learning coming just from data. Organizations have tons of data. Traditionally, they've been using data warehouses and such to extract insights. Now, they're replacing with machine learning techniques because with lots of data, with computing being available, now you can use other techniques. So you don't need to model, let the machine learn. Right? If you have enough data, like machine can learn the models and then whether it is identifying things, detecting, predicting, it could be fraud, it could be like an upsell opportunity, it could be any of those, right? And from being more rule-based and like kind of structured data analytics, insights-based models, which is how it used to be all these years, now there are also machine learning-based models possible, right?
So what is this on quantum safe applications? Why are people talking about the applications have to be quantum safe?
So we are one of the largest quantum software research groups in the country, on the software side, not the physics side, on the computing side. And so we did a roundtable, when quantum was beginning to gain momentum, we regularly do industry academia conference roundtables, 3-hour roundtables where it's a closed door brainstorming. And so we did one on quantum, and I was surprised when we happened to mention to one of the large banks in the city, they said, we want to come. And very quickly it turned out like when we had about 16, 17 people in the room, around 8 of them were from banks. I was very surprised because banks are not the ones that will go and jump at new technologies. And then it turned out it's not that they wanted to adopt, they didn't want to be blindsided, especially on the quantum crypto, right? So 2 years back, every bank I knew was talking about it. Today, if we do the same roundtable, probably 1 or 2 will come. Reality has set in. Quantum is not going to be real. I mean, in actual computers coming and in use for not less than 10 years. So the hype is settled. I don't think there's any, yes, it's a worry. When those machines become real, it's a huge worry. So banks are all tracking it, but nobody's doing anything about it, as far as I know. At least I know all the major...
My worry is if hackers get onto it faster than the providers, that is where the worry is.
Yeah, but the machines
it just takes one guy to invest that much and then hack into a bank. And if it is not a quantum safe application, then millions of depositors are at stake.
They're tracking. I mean, like I said, I was surprised that banks were the front runners in quantum interest. That I would have expected a technology company like a Microsoft or a Google or such to be more interested. But banks are more interested and they continue to be interested. I'm saying the fear that they had 3 years back that it could happen anytime in the next few years has settled down because the reality is very, very clear. Like we have a national quantum mission. We are also part of that. So there was a consultation meeting where all the quantum research groups in the country were at that meeting. The mission, so the principal scientific advisor and the DST secretary ran the meeting. There were about, I think, 80 research organizations, 300, 400 people in the room. Amazing, very, very good session. And they are talking about getting a basic machine in the country, maybe in the next 5 to 7 years. A basic machine. They're not even seriously usable machines yet.
I'm sorry, I'm extending this discussion a little bit more. Yesterday, the Prime Minister inaugurated Param, right? I'm sure you must have read about it, right? So, I mean, it's not that, India as a government or as a thing, we are not investing in it or things.
This is globally.
Yes,
We're
okay.
a little behind.
Okay.
Globally also, like the machines that IBM has is super expensive. You can't do anything with it given the cost. It's more a technology demonstrator. Even that is like at least 5 to 7 years before it can evolve into something usable, cost aside. Then the cost factor comes. So it's not about us being behind or ahead. I was referring to it more as a state of the technology globally. We are probably a few years behind. Not that far behind. Thankfully, quantum mission is a good initiative. Like the same reason, like many other technologies, they have leapfrogged us before even we understood, like they went off to the next generation. So idea is like, let's not be the same with quantum. We may or may not get the machines ourselves, but let there be understanding, let us be in the front lines. Like 5G we have done, we're not in the front lines, but 5G we are not doing catch-up game. There's so much of investment. We've been a 5G hub for several years. IIT Hyderabad is a major hub. And like, so while we couldn't create the technology for 5G, we are early adopters of 5G. Today, probably one of the largest rollouts in the world is in India, not just application side. So the idea was that like, you can't just roll out the technology and not have anything using it. So they invested a lot of effort in trying to build solutions, how to use 5G, but the bigger mission was 6G. Now, the government's idea is that like, we should not be now even just catching up, we should be creating those technologies. So quantum mission is similar. Maybe we can't create, because all the others are much, much ahead of us, but we are not going to be left behind. Okay. We're going to have our own computers, and like, even if it's behind, it's going to be only a few years behind, not that we're suddenly caught unawares when suddenly somebody says, embargo, we're not giving you the technology. We won't be caught completely unaware, so at least we'll have our own technology.
Thank you. So let us move from, say, technology to a little bit of real world again. We have Anil from the OSB Bank. So Anil, can you please educate us on neo-banking a little bit? What are some of the emerging spaces? And how is it that some of the fintechs can work with GCCs, especially in some of the fintech areas across in general, especially in banking? Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. So first I would just like to touch a little bit on GCC, and then I'll go to fintech, and then I'll go to the neobank. I've been working with the GCCs for 20 years now. I mean, 20 years back, if you asked, was there a word called GCC? No, it was not. It was contact center, call centers. You had MNCs or foreign companies setting up their operations in India purely because of cost to get cheap labor. But times have gone ahead. We have seen that from there they started, investing in some niche roles, starting from processing and calls. Then they went into like, risk analytics, finance, charter accountants, IT hubs. They started seeing development centers coming in. So 90s, it was like, a call center, contact center. 2000, there was some research and development happening. Further ahead, they became center of excellence. Now today in 2024, the word is GCC. That is Global Capability Center. What is so different today? Today, what is different is that they're looking at their centers in India to tell them how to run their operations, how effectively they can run their operations. What are the new emerging technologies? What are the ideas that they can incorporate in the banking industry, in the finance industry, in the IT industry? Because most of the startups are right now in India, and they're coming with solutions. They understood the problems of traditional banking. They understood the problems of, where the cost was there, how much time it would take to open an account, what were the hurdles for the customers, what are the regulatory expectations. They kind of understood the market really well, and they started coming out with solutions. And that's why we call it now the Global Capability Centers. So interestingly, I work with, a lot of startups. Very recently, I remember when I was in the UK, I was told that, there's a particular area, lot of work, they want to cut costs, they want to see value, how can you do it? Very simple. We had RPA in India with our IT team. So I told them, we'll connect, we'll do it. We were able to cut costs by almost about 30 to 40% savings. RPA is what? Robotics process automation. You have a bot that does all the work that, a manual person does. It does your calculations also. So a lot of banks have this requirement where you sit, do calculations all, but robotics does that for you. But now moving ahead, AI has come into the picture. What are the banks doing today? Now, when you talk about neobanks, what's the difference between a neobank and a traditional bank? A traditional bank always has a building. You go there, you do your work. I remember, say, 25 years ago, if my dad had to send me some money to college, he will go to a bank, take a draft, post it, it'll come to me, I will take it, I will go to the bank, give the draft, wait in the queue, get my money, happy with those days getting your allowance. But today you don't do any of those. Today you call your parents or you call somebody for money, it's instantly transferred in a matter of few seconds. That's how digital bank has come into the picture. Now, something interesting that has come up, is the neobanks. Neobanks don't have a physical center as such. But what they do is you have a, what you call a web space where you interact with, the virtual reality and you try to, tell them what is your requirement. And you will get a response, you will get transactions happening through that. And artificial intelligence plays a lot of role in this. It is evolving from traditional bank to digital bank, now to neobank. Neobank is mainly, I would say, the interest of millennials and Gen Zs, who don't like interacting very much with people. They just like taking their mobile and getting things done very quickly. They like to see everything happening, with the touch of a screen. That's what our new age generation is coming into, and that's what neobank is actually catering to. Where you want a loan. You don't want to talk to somebody, you don't want to do anything. These days, even loans, all of you, if you have a good credit note, you have been told time and again that you got 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs waiting. At a click of a button, the money is into your account. That means there is some kind of a data that they have analyzed you. They know your income, they know your assets, and they know what you're capable of paying, and they know what kind of loan they can give you, which you can repay back. They have all the data. So data has become very important. Now with that data, they know each individual what they can give money to, how they can do things. Neobank has come with something more interesting right now, is that people travel a lot in the world. Indians are known to be big-time travelers, not like what you used to see maybe 15 years back. It was our first trip. Today is like, 100 trip you're going. People are traveling. The airports are filled with, students and people moving across. They all need foreign currencies. Some of us still rely on our traditional bank, pay a higher charge, and get it done. Neobanks are coming specifically for people who are traveling, saying that, you can use this money, come back, we'll give you the same money back, balance, conversion charges, everything set and recorded. You're not going to have any problems with, the rates going up and down. So neobanks are coming up with too many ideas. One of the risk factors is basically knowing your customer. How do you know your customers? And neobanks are coming up with more digital technology. I moved to Hyderabad just about 3 years back, and I walked into HDFC saying that, just come over here. What is your process? They said, just sit here. They asked my Aadhaar card. They took my fingerprint. Done. My address has changed to Hyderabad. I said, my wife is there. She's a joint account holder. They said, don't worry, don't bring her to the bank. We'll do a video call and we'll do it for you. She just had to hold her PAN card, her Aadhaar card, everything done. Her account was open. We are generations ahead from what we used to do in banking. Now, the question is, where are the opportunities for our fintech startups? A lot of opportunities. You just have to walk into the banks and understand where their pain process is, and you have to give them a solution. Yesterday I walked out in the counters. Counters were interesting. People asked me, what am I doing? What's my name? I told them, what am I doing? To the point. So we can offer you this technology which helps reduce, your transactions and all that stuff. So you are in the banking industry, you're a GM, so what about, in terms of tax? This is the opportunity. So specific to the point that gets my attention. Not that, that we have something to sell, maybe it might interest you, not interest you, but they knew exactly what I wanted. They were very quick in catching, the requirement or, what I work into. And I think that's where fintechs come into the picture. Even if you're looking at neobank support, they need big-time support. They need support in, in terms of customers. We spoke about fraud. Today morning, a few of us in the panel, we were talking about fraud. I've got a certification in anti-money laundering, a gold standard certification. So what I've been taught is 80% of the fraud happens inside the office. It's only 20% that you can expect it from outside happening, coming and hacking and all that stuff. But 80%, which does not go announced because it impacts your share value, prices and all that. It happens inside. What are the solutions to ensure that it does not happen to the business? Where are your biggest risk? What is it, that value that you can reduce the time? If it takes me 10 minutes to open an account, can you make it to 1 minute? What are the technologies? Have you run through the whole process? What are you going to bring into the table? So that's where neo-banking is coming into the picture. And as I said, it will take a little more time. It is more for the younger crowd that's coming up who will not go and visit a branch, who does not want to connect with people. They just like to do it on the touch of the screen.
Thanks, Anil. We'll go to the Vishnu. I had a very interesting conversation with him today morning. So on digital assets and Finternet, etc. So Vishnu, can you please throw light on the entire space of digital assets? The way they are emerging. What is this concept of Finternet, which is emerging in a big way? And even Nandan spoke about it very recently, including his chief architect, Pramod Verma. Go ahead, yeah.
So as a founder, I try to live in the future. So obviously, there are companies exist to solve solutions, make money, maybe improve convenience a little bit, and then there are companies that try to completely disrupt the way we look at the world. So let me paint a picture. Imagine a world where you don't have to carry your debit card, your credit card. You are just walking. There's no phone. You are the person, you are your asset. And you are the one who's carrying your real estate, your car, your bank balance, your mutual fund, your FDs, everything. And imagine a world where you can borrow against it, not from a bank, but from other people using a technology that happens in the background. We'll call it some magic technology. We don't have to get into the boring science of it. Now that is a world, like if you are 20 years old today, you will not be going into a bank and asking for authority where you trust one institution or one country or one brand and say, okay, I will borrow from this because it's safe, or I will lend to this because it's safe. You will want to interact with the crowd. You want to maybe lend to somebody in America, in China, because you already trust the magic technology that is happening behind it. And guess what? We are already doing it today. Everybody on your phone, you're using mobile internet. You don't know what's happening behind, but you're communicating with the world. Just take that same magic technology, use a little bit of cryptography, and that word is very, very important. Oh, I see digital twins here, so he appreciates what we are saying. And that's it. You have essentially built on the internet to create and unlock possibilities which will be immense. So now let me bring it back to 2024 and what we are doing at Asset Vault. One of our clients is in China. He wants to get an exposure to a $1 million apartment in Los Angeles. Unfortunately, he cannot afford $1 million, but there are 10 of his friends that can afford 1 million divided by 10. So what we've done is we've tokenized this real estate, this house for $1 million. We've broken it into 1 million pieces using something called blockchain. And it's a good application because now suddenly somebody sitting in China can benefit from real estate growth in Los Angeles. They don't even have to go to Los Angeles. They don't even have to show KYC, nothing. We take care of it. When I say we, it's the blockchain. So my only word of advice to some of the young founders or possible founders here is try and become very multidisciplinary. Learn a little bit of physics. Learn a little bit of cryptography. Learn a little bit of mathematics. Learn some law. Because all of blockchain is law. Because how will you enforce, let's say I own a piece of property in Los Angeles, but I'm not there. Who is the custodian? How do I trust that the custodian is not a bad actor? So all of this, the world is getting more and more multidisciplinary. So the more diverse points of view you have, you will be able to benefit from this futuristic world. So tokenization is another word that I want you guys to take away with you. Cryptography, tokenization, Finternet. So what Nandan Nilekani was mentioning the other day is he's already thinking like 20 years ahead. Imagine the Aadhaar ID that we have. Similarly, there'll be another kind of an ID that you will have, which will be on the blockchain, protected by cryptography and hashing. And this is where, again, quantum computers come in. So let's say 30 years from now, somebody builds a super strong quantum computer. then the current mathematical protocols can be broken. I'll give you a very simple example. If I ask you what is the product of 23 and 37, anybody here can take a piece of paper and do it. 23 and 37 are two prime numbers. It's 851. I just did the math. Imagine I gave you a product, the final answer, and then I asked you, now tell me the constituent primes. There is no algorithm for that in the world today. You will literally have to start at 3, 7, 11, 13, 17. And the larger the number I give you, computers will take age, the time will be like the age of the universe. This is the problem with classical computers. Whereas a quantum computer uses superposition of bits. So zeros and ones at the same time. So it reduces the time to a few minutes. Doesn't exist, as Ramesh said. Hopefully, inshallah, it will come in the very soon. Then all our secrets will be out in the open. Because I will capture the secret today. I'll wait for 20 years until somebody makes a quantum computer. AWS is making a lot of progress. Then I will purchase that and break the codes, which is why government bodies, banks are very interested in this technology. So I'll pause there and we can continue more.
Yeah. Sorry, Sonali, we are coming last to you, unfortunately, because you joined late, okay? So I couldn't really accommodate in the flow, okay? So, Sonali, I think you have a lot of experience with public policy, government, all of that. So what is the government policy on regulating the entire fintech space, especially around emerging areas of lending, payments, and we have seen a couple of hacks recently. Anyway, we need not touch upon that. But essentially, what is the government policy or is it emerging? Thank you.
So thanks, Ram. Couple of points. Firstly, I did a lot of policy work. I right now work a lot with startups. So very interesting discussion on this panel. I think just by way of introduction, I look after various businesses at the bank, startups and the gig economy being two new areas that we are focused on, in addition to deposits on the government and institutional side, as many of my friends on this panel have spoken. So let me just give you perspective on how the overall landscape banks vis-a-vis fintechs is changing and what the future looks like, right? So firstly, I think banks and fintechs have had a happy marriage right from the time fintechs were not even known as the word fintechs, because banks have been powered by technology historically. Jargons change, but technically it's the same thing, whether it was earlier the core banking platform or today they are stacks sitting on top of payment gateways that we call startups and fintech. So the marriage of startups and banks goes back to as long as banking has existed and technology came into banks, starting with your core CBS systems. As far as I see the government policy, I think we all know that India's fintech story is something that is known globally and is actually a part of India's soft power now, much like China took its culture as part of its soft power globally. So India's fintechs, whether it's UPI, etc., is a big part of India's story that's being told globally. And we've seen payments being disrupted in a big way in the last 10 years. I think right after demonetization, the kind of changes we saw in the payment ecosystem have been quite phenomenal. As far as the next 10 years on fintechs goes, I think let me just say that as a banker sitting here, I can tell you that the next 10 years will belong to cross-border payments. Because if you look at the new regulations that have just come out by the Reserve Bank, and we are building out various strands of those businesses, is not just how you travel, which is what my colleague on the panel just said, is about, that's really one small sliver of LRS. But if you look at the government's perspective on exports, and it's true that unless India supplies to the world, in addition to supplying to its own markets, India's growth will not leapfrog. And therefore, to take exports from 200 billion to 500 billion, you are going to see cross-border technologies emerge and cross-border fintechs emerge. I don't know how many of you are aware, but the new regulations are opening doors in ways that the world has not seen before. And it's going to disrupt cross-border payments in many, many ways. You're going to soon see Indian banks competing with global banks for large players across the world, and that's going to be a phenomenal opportunity that will unfold when you talk about global payment processing. So I think the next 10 years in fintech are clearly cross-border, in addition to, of course, a lot of work that is happening on blockchain and the digital currency. Coming to neobanks, as you spoke about, I think there are lots of neobanks in the country, and lots of banks themselves, as my colleagues on this panel have mentioned, are moving down the path of digitization at a pace that has been unprecedented in banking. So today, as HDFC, we've been the first bank to really focus on the gig economy, because if you look at the spectrum of gig, I mean, frankly, this is the whole self-employment space, right? Today, we use fancy jargon because there's a platform there which is around gig. And it's true that banks have looked at self-employed people opportunistically, but now at HDFC, we are taking a very systematic approach to the self-employed, because the future of India will be powered by self-employed, and small entrepreneurs have actually contributed to the nation's growth. And now it's the technology platforms that are aggregating work which are actually going to contribute to the future. So you will look at banks coming up with digitization when it comes to account opening, like you spoke about it, when it comes to lending, when it comes to new to credit. In fact, our whole gig program is designed to enable the new to credit people to participate in the economy fairly quickly, within just a few clicks. Like you mentioned, your wife got her account. So I think, lots of good things are happening, whether it's on insurance, whether it's on credit, whether it's on banks. And I think the banks and the fintechs will grow together. So whether the valuations will increase for banks or for fintechs, I think it's both one stacked up on the other. Because remember, at the end of the day, the money sits in a bank. How much ever digital currency might change, the banks continue to remain the backbone. The technology players build on top of that. And I think that's where there's a happy marriage. And that's something we should all remember, because I think the discourse in general always goes about banks being monolithic institutions and the fintechs being the future. I think one cannot survive without the other. So we should recognize that in the discourse as it's talked about. And yes, banks have a higher degree of responsibility, because remember, while there is a happy marriage, I've also been at Meta, where I was there for 8 months. And if you look at pure technology and pure banking, it's a marriage of incompatibles. That's one of the reasons why, Google has scaled in payments and Facebook couldn't. So there are ways to do things and marry technology with a regulated industry, which I think Google has done well. And I just leave it here to say that, fintechs and banks will be the future, hand in hand together. Because like you said, quantum computing is something where we will look at it as banks. Whether it's digital assets, banks will look at it. Because obviously, as the custodians of the nation's wealth, banks do have the responsibility to ensure we provide our customers with the best possible services and technologies. So hopefully, we'll engage with a lot of you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, from startups perspective, I would only say that there are a lot of guidelines from SEBI and RBI. I request you to go through them. There is a legal consulting organization called Law Octopus. I'm not advocating them, I'm just telling you as a source of information. You can go, and I sincerely suggest you read all the guidelines. Because if you're doing a startup and if you don't know the legal guidelines, you're going to end up, you're not going to cut it. So please read, there are payment guidelines, there are wealth management guidelines, there are lending guidelines, whole lot of suite of guidelines have been given by RBI. In fact, this is the only industry where the government institutions are leading, or at least running along with the industry. So I would like you to keep track of it. And now, just in the interest of time, I'd like to open the this thing for any questions. We'll just take 3 questions and then close the panel. Okay. Go ahead. That lady there, yeah, she lifted her hand first. Yeah, I'll come to you later. Yeah.
First of all, good morning to everyone, and thank you for such an insightful session. Thank you all the speakers. I have 2 questions. First question is regarding intermediaries and their importance in wealth advisory. It was very interesting what Sonali ma'am spoke about, and she said that she's going, as a bank, they are going to encourage self-employed people. So my question is, will this automation and the AI/ML technologies reduce the importance of wealth advisors, specifically maybe RIAs in the future? And my second question is a slightly gendered question because of my interest in a startup that I'm trying to work on. are banks looking to offer gender-customized solutions in future?
Anindya, would you like to take first? Then we'll go to Sonali. Go
ahead. The short answer to your first question is no. RIAs will not go out of business because, of technology. Because the way technology is evolving today, AI, ML specifically, Gen AI, more recently, is basically an enabler to some of the things that, RIAs do. By the way, the way RIAs are growing, just one piece of data for you. We heard about account aggregator. Account aggregator is now being used by 10 crore Indians. 10 crore consents have happened on account aggregator. About 8 crore, customers are registered out there. 16%, which is the second largest number, right? 16% of the flow which is happening on account aggregator is by the RIAs in the country. You'd be very surprised to know and why. Because the PFM, the personal finance management, which is done by the RIA, the account aggregator actually makes it very easy for you to create that whole 360-degree picture for your customers. Technology is always going to be an enabler, at least for the foreseeable future. I think, some of the futures that, we kind of have been talking about, or we, watch in movies, etc., they are not going to be a mass reality, in the future. So that's what I would say. And every time a technology like this has come, you would see that the particular, things that we are talking about, it has improved by leaps and bounds, 5x, 10x, because something is enabling you to do things better. So it helps you to be more creative with your conversations, with your customers, to engage with them better. It's not going to be replacing anytime soon. And that's the reality across how technology touches, many other, things that, people talk about. So that's about your first. The second question was about, I think, BCs, intermediaries.
The second question was a gender question. I mean,
gender question.
Women customized
So the problem, and if we talk about gender, right? The problem today, and it's a serious problem, is that the women workforce, for what reason I don't know, is coming down in India, and that's a serious problem. Because the opportunities are increasing. But as a percentage, this is kind of coming down. Everyone today, every organization that I can think about, including my own, they have very specific products and very specific ways of reaching out to women. But somehow the income opportunities is on an overall basis, right? As the pie is increasing, it is reducing for women. Now, that also has to be kind of somewhere taken care of, and I'm sure many people are working on that, including many NGOs. But so parallelly, that has to happen, and there are multiple reasons for why this also does not take off. The decision maker often in most of the societies that we live in across, we are a multi-society country, is not being. So there's a single decision maker. And we have seen, for example, if I have, let's say, 100 accounts, in a certain segment, the decision makers are only maybe 30 or 40, which means that in the household, if there are multiple accounts being opened for anything, any financial services product, the decision maker is not 100, it is maybe 30 or 40. So the decision-making ability also depends upon how literacy, grows in the household. How people are able to understand. Some of these are very complicated, top financial services is not very easy. Taking loans could be easy. Personal loans is a very easy product. But investments, insurance, these are not very easy subjects to understand. And, I think somewhere that literacy also needs to play a role.
So we will, in the interest of time, we will quickly move on. Sonali, would you like to make one or two comments?
Yeah. So we have a women's account. You should absolutely get it. Large part of women, as data says, are self-employed. So please go out, get a Giga account. We have a credit card for new to credit. We have very specific offers for women. We have insurance. Not only that, we also have a new investment process. And I'll come to your intermediaries question second. So for the first time, I think we've created a process where you can invest as much as you want and when you want, which is not your traditional sip of 10,000 rupees on the 10th of every month hitting your bank account. This is done by the AMC arm of the group, where we've actually created it for self-employed people, because a large part of self-employed are women, and you may have lumpy income, and therefore you may not be able to invest every month. And we know everybody's putting money in SIPs because investments are now, as we've heard from the panel, there's a huge interest in SIPs. So yes, there is a specific focus on women, and banks, we are looking at that very systematically. To your second question on RIAs, I think, look, wealth management is today being far more enabled at scale and democratized because of technology. There I tend to agree with what he just said, that it is not either or, but it is about technology playing a fundamental role in democratization. Because when there's effective democratization, you will actually see a large number of registered investment advisors grow, because they will have a larger number of products to offer. So overall, it will have a multiplier effect in the long run.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sonali. So what we will do is, we will not be able to take any more questions in the interest of time. Okay, I'll just make one final remark.
You can't escape from me. My question is to Sonali. Sonali, the way digitization is happening, in fact, I don't know, I don't remember when I visited any bank. So I never visited for the last several years. And the way things are going forward, do you think there will be any physical bank? If that is the case, what will happen to the jobs that already exist in these physical banks? So what is your perspective going forward?
I'll share that. So very interesting question, Jay. So at HDFC Bank, we are doing both. And let me tell you, we are adding 1,000 branches every year. So there is going to be, banking is a body contact sport. Yes, there is a younger generation that likes digitization, but also we should remember that there's a big growth of phygital in India, which we don't talk about, because not everybody knows how to use digital technology end to end, right? And that's where you have the Bharat and the India divide. So I think you're going to see the two coexist as we are seeing them today. And we will keep, because India's very largely unbanked, right? While you have the Jan Dhan accounts, etc. As he said, there are there's a very large number of people who are new to credit. There is a lot of innovation that is happening in banking as well. So while we may have got our citizens now with an account with the Jan Dhan drive that was driven by the government, I think banking is a body contact sport. Banks will continue to have physical presence. There will be a more adoption of digital processes within banks. So when you talk about walking into a branch, you will still see the bank. You may see a very branch in the future. You may not see the kind of branch that you see today. So you'll have a paperless branch. You'll have a highly digitized branch where every process, and today most of the transactions even in our bank are done 80%, more than 80%, and the branches are done digitally.
What will happen to the jobs?
I think the jobs will continue. We are still adding. I think everyone is still adding because we are expanding and we are growing. So I think that's what I said. Technology brings in a multiplier effect, contrary to the perception being that it is taking away the jobs. The multiplier effect is very, very high because India is a market. Today, India's, this decade, I'm firmly of the belief that the next decade is India's, because remember, we have a demographic population of 28.3 is the average age today of the demography. So if you look at it, the next 10 years are going to be India's, if not the next century, as many people are saying, but definitely the next 10 to 15 years. And you're seeing what's happening in other larger economies globally and what we're seeing in markets like China, etc. So India's just about starting its next S-curve. And remember, China hit a huge bump up in growth, which is where you will see everything growing when it hit $4,000 of GDP per capita. We're just at about $2,500 roughly dollars of GDP per capita. The minute you see us, we are quickly and climbing to 4,000. You see 4,000 and you'll see a new S-curve emerge. So the best is yet to come.
Sir,
we'll have many more jobs.
Thank you. I would add 2 cents to that. Today, on an average, an Indian uses not more than 1 or 2 financial products offered by a bank. Okay, and first of all, 75% of the people just use saving bank, whoever using a bank, okay? So now the number of financial products which are offered by any bank are somewhere close to 50 to 70 on an average, okay? And imagine both the horizontal and the vertical expansion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one point. Technology always takes out the jobs which are very repetitive in nature. Now, repetitive jobs is not done by one person. Each one of us in all our roles, right? We have some repetitive jobs. Anything that we do, we have to remember that technology will eventually take that out at some point of time. But what does that do? Makes that person more productive, and therefore you move on to a slightly higher level job, right? That's how the economy grows, that's how productivity grows, that's how your GDP will grow, and that's how you will reach 4,000, 5,000 per capita GDP, where the next acceleration will happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll close this. Now, I know you have a lot of questions. Please catch the panelists and ask one-to-one. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. I should just say, wow. It's a technology-loaded morning session, and this is what we expect from ISF sessions. Thank you all, and I would like to congratulate ISF team for selecting right leaders to have this discussion. To be frank, when I was coming onto stage, one of my colleagues was mentioning, please don't stop this session. She was continuously writing those notes. So thank you, leaders, and I request Jay Garu, Satyendra, and Mahesh to please come on to dais. Padma, please help with mementos. Request ISF co-founders, Vipin Garu also to be on the stage. And Sheshadri Garu, in case you are around. Let's have one photograph with founder, co-founders, and speakers. Thank you so much. Pre-lunch session, we do have 2 more roundtables. And I know that leaders have now they have raised the expectations, and trust me, you will have much more exciting roundtables going forward. So we'll now go with the AgriTech Roundtable. I request Barni Garu to take dais. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back again for the AgriTech session. And thank you, Padma and the team here for the wonderful session. So I'll just set the context for AgriTech. World over, we have seen now how communicable diseases are spreading, non-communicable diseases are spreading, India being the diabetes capital of the world. And food and diseases are very much interlinked. And what we are going to do next for the next 15, 20 years is really going to set the context for how we are going to build a healthy nation. So this being the context, how are we going to streamline the agri industry, and how is technology going to play a role there? So that's the theme. And of course, the chair would be kind of steering this discussion. So I request, as I read out the names, all distinguished members who have done phenomenal work in the field of agri and agri-tech, I request people to come over on stage. First, we have Mr. Ashar Farhan, who is the founder and partner of Dana Farmers Network, who will be chairing the agri. Welcome, sir. And followed by Dr. Babu Yuvi, who is Director R&D of Himalaya Wellness. who will be joining us on stage. Mr. Krishna Kumar, who's the Vice President of Crop Operations and Sustainability, Agribusiness Division of ITC. We have Naresh Nekanti, who is the Managing Director of Bhavani Bioorganics. Mr. Ram Kumar Verma, who is founder and CEO of Native Araku Coffee, and who is actually treating us to some amazing filter coffee every session. And our very own Vishala Reddy, who is a millet crusader and the founder of the Millet Bank. The passion that she brings to the cause of millets is something phenomenal, and we look forward to her views. Dr. Manasa Reddy, Managing Director, Biomflex Private Limited. We welcome you. And then, last but not the least, Mr. Shirish Reddy, who is an organic and a herbal product consultant. Now I leave the stage open to the chair and the other members on the stage to steer the discussion. And yeah, just to again set the context, the next 20 years, how are we going to steer the agri and the agri-tech industry for us to build a healthy nation? Over to you, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen.
To audience, right, there is one poet who told, like, whatever digitization you are going to do, end of day roti is not going to come from Google. So it's very important that you focus on this roundtable. Over to you, Chair.
Hello. Hi, everybody, and welcome to ISF once more on behalf of this panel. My name is Farhan, and we hope to open up and put forth before you some of the challenges that the agriculture sector in itself is facing, faced with the challenges of technology and the opportunity of technology, and probably also opportunity of climate, of the Indian situation, the Indian economy, etc. So I would like to keep the formality very short, and we'll just go around the panel, and I would request each one of the panelists to just give a one-line introduction of you, your name and your organization, followed by what do you think is the single biggest challenge and the single biggest opportunity, or probably one or two of them, but very short, so that we can use these as the jump-off points for our discussions. Okay. So shall I start with you, sir?
Hello. Good afternoon to all. I am Dr. G.R. Chintala, former chairman NABARD. So it's very nice to participate in this one. And there are so many challenges, because as NABARD chairman, I used to see really what is the agricultural problems. Definitely, once the panel goes around, I will tell really what are the things which can happen or cannot happen because of the issues related to aggregation, issues related to the finances, issues related to the funds availability, and also the markets. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to this because NABARD has been a key player in the agricultural sector of India. So I'll pass it on to Mr. Krishna of ITC now. You can pass it on.
Good morning to all of you. This is Krishna Kumar. I'm from ITC. My basic expertise is commodity value chain development, sustainability, and I get great joy for working with Indian farmer for the last 4 decades, focusing on greater value creation to the farmer and entire value chain. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Babu. I am the director of Himalaya Wellness Company. So my core competence is how we can globalize our traditional medicines using our medicinal plants and the herbs. So I'll set a context where we work closely with the farmers. Can we provide an alternative, the herbs or the crops, where we can increase the sustainable income of the farmers? That's the main goal. The problems are many in this category. I will try to explain, but mainly the problem is today authenticity of the herbs. Okay, that is whether what we say is that the correct, and the package of practices and the right price, and then insurance to the farmers, those who are cultivating medicinal herbs.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Manasa. I'm the Managing Director of Bloomflex Private Limited. At Bloomflex, we provide post-harvest solutions like the breathable bags where the shelf life of the fresh produce, all kinds, can be extended at Indian ambient temperature, because our philosophy is hunger and food wastage should not coexist in the same community.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ram Kumar Verma. I'm the founder and CEO for Native Araku Coffee. Our prime intention to work with is in the tribal fraternity, and our journey has always been in terms of how do we add more revenue to the tribal farmer. And the biggest opportunity which we have seen is, with one product which is coffee, there are a lot of byproducts which can be generated, and we're working on that, where the revenue for the farmer is just not from the coffee bean, but there are byproducts where the revenue can be doubled with the same process. So that's what we've been working upon. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Sirish Reddy from Hyderabad. I am into organic farming and herbal consultant. I think today the health what we are talking about, and they say our total earth is gone. So how we can bring it back? So we have a solution. I'll come back.
So actually I work in line with what Sirish said. How do we bring back the earth? Millets is not just food for us, it's a culture. It's almost 7,000 plus years old culture. And what we are trying to do from Millet Bank, which I founded in 2020, after seeing my sister was selling foxtail millet for 15 rupees. And we are trying to bring back this culture and create a value chain for millets and rural crafts. And what we feel is that agriculture is India's culture. And there are a lot of interconnectedness at the grassroots level. It's not just food. It's also farmers and the artisans, and everybody is together, as JS also was telling. It's an integrated ecosystem, self-sustainable at the rural level. So how do we bring back? And as a millets, we are using as a main thing. And also rural crafts, we work with rural artisans. Thank you.
Hello, I would like everyone to stand up and give a standing ovation to Mr. J.A. Chaudhary, who brought all of us here. We're all here, only he called of us.
Thank you, Mr. Sirish. That was imperative for us to do. Now, with the preliminary rounds of introductions in place, I would begin myself by saying that I think the big challenge is sustainable agriculture. And by sustainable, I mean that it has to be sustainable in various directions. It has to be economically sustainable. It has to be environmentally sustainable. It has to be, livelihood sustainable. That is, livelihoods depend on this. But in spite of it, the buildings have, you have to build the entire value chain, as she is saying. So I think it's important for us to look at these models of sustainability. So I would open this panel up now to, find out, if there are institutional models or, the private sector models. We, thankfully have the biggest names, just ITC and NABARD on this panel. So I hope to, see some, development of this and, exposition of these areas. Would you like to take a stab?
Good morning. I think as the context was said very well, today one of the biggest driver for impacting entire humanity, economy, and certainly agriculture is climate change. So all of us are experiencing this climate change, which is disrupting the crop production as well as supply chain. So certainly, we need a comprehensive policy framework and interagency collaboration and high dose of innovation and technology intervention. I'm sure digital is a major intervention as part of the technology intervention is concerned. It is very well known fact that the global population is likely to reach 10 billion level by 2050. And to feed the same, we need to double the current food production. Whereas our farmers are facing the challenge in terms of sustaining current level of productivity and quality in the backdrop of the various production challenges, which include the climate-induced variability, as well as other issues like access to right technology, right input. Of course, in the last 5 years, the challenge of skilled labor availability and the cost. This being the case, on the supply side, on the demand side, the consumer is looking for more safer, nutritional products, coupled with high degree of concern for the impact of the climate. All these things together, as the panel chairman rightly said, that there is a greater focus on sustainable food value chain so that everybody has enough food as well as the quality of the food, and it can remain sustainable. That is where, even if you really see the recent policy frameworks and regulations throughout the world, you are seeing greater and greater scrutiny of sustainable way of doing things. Whether you look at the various policy frameworks emanating out of UN goals like CDP or SBT framework for low carbon footprint crop value chains or production or manufacturing, to global biodiversity frameworks. And I think in the recent, even today, it is there in the paper that most of us would have heard the recent EUR directive, which is saying that no deforestation, and any product which need to be imported into Europe need to declare and prove with crop custody that in the last 4 years there is no deforestation impacted because of that product or the process, starting from the farm to factory. So what is the big difference is coming out of this greater focus on sustainability is that not only the consumer is looking at and demanding for safer product and process, the entire international community is enabling, encouraging the countries and organizations to look this aspect with a greater focus, because it is impacting everybody's life, including the farmer. You are seeing, if in my experience in the last 30, 40 years, if there was a drought, it used to be drought or excess rain or extreme weather, it used to be once in a 10 years or once in a 5 years. Today, drought or excess rain or extreme weather event has become a new normal. Today, if you really see World Economic Forum, the top 10 risks, the second risk is extreme weather event. See, from a general level of climate change and impact on the society as well as agriculture. Today we are talking about extreme weather event, very clear. The farmer is saying that suddenly I'm receiving cyclones, like Michang cyclone. What I should do? My crop is inundated. What I should do? So in that way, there is a need for interventions, a comprehensive policy framework, and interagency collaboration to ensure that two aspects are taken care together. One is the climate change mitigation, what you should do to reduce the pace of deterioration. That's where the net zero targets, science-based targets, especially the flag guidelines from the SBTi, focusing on the agriculture, land use change, as well as forest. That is one part. The second part is how you are adapted. What is the level of your adaptation? So that these two together, we get the climate resilience agriculture. That is where, along with the policy framework, technology plays a bigger role, especially the tech requirement is very high. I think with these few words, I stop here because there are so many things to talk about in terms of what we need to do to produce the buy required by the consumer and to address the challenges of the farmer. So the maximum value capture happens in the value chain, either ends at the farmer level or at the consumer level, and minimize the value capture and value loss in the value chain. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So before we come back to and find out what the institutional requirements may be and interventions might be, I would like to probably challenge the entrepreneurs here to look at what are the opportunities for the small entrepreneurs to make these interventions, which are socially conscious as well as getting there. So if I could just get some quick bites from you people, we can develop a sense of where entrepreneurship is and what role it is playing in AgriTech. So can I?
Yeah, thank you. As I told, we represent in most of the countries across the globe, and it is the wellness, it is the health. So what generally we do is we connect with the farmers. We try to provide alternative solutions to the farmers. Today, the farmers are conventionally growing certain crops, and they know how to grow it. But can we give an alternative options to increase their sustainable incomes? So when it comes to that, I just want to give a background how the sustainability, how the entrepreneurship can be done in the medicinal plants. For example, if you see historically, India is reported 17,500 medicinal plants. And today, we have around 1,000 medicinal plants in the trade. In Ayurveda, it is reported 980 plants, whereas with the help of central government, CSR, all the institutions have studied 6,800 plants of their importance of its biological activity. So during the journey of thousands of years, what exactly has happened? We never take care or took care of these plants. Wherever there is a demand, that is where the focus has been. It is very heartening to note that we lost around 65 very important medicinal plants that are reported in Ayurveda, which are available in the Himalayan range. Today we lost. So the most important in the industry is the sustainability. Okay? When we talk about sustainability, again, in the herbal industry particularly, 30% of the raw materials are cultivated as on today. Most of those raw materials are still depend on the wild collection. So our first effort is how we can increase the sustainable availability of these herbs. Therefore, can we work with the institutions, with our own capacity, develop the cultivation of, cultivation practices of these medicinal plants. So our aim is every year to add 15 to 20% from the wild collections to cultivation. In an effort, we connect with the larger NGOs across the country. Okay? So then if I have traveled across the country to understand that what herbs, where and which geography this can be cultivated. So, and then the farmers' needs are different. Some farmers want returns within 3 months. and some farmers can wait up to 6 months. So, and there is also most important thing is, and the responsibility of the industry is, suppose some of those herbs are trending, like for example, turmeric is trending, ashwagandha is trending. So the industries will put, or the people will put a lot of focus on those herbs. Then what is exactly happened, most of those farmers trying to cultivate same herbs without realizing what is exactly the demand. It is actually created demand because of trending across the nations. Therefore, the farmers are not getting the fair price. If there is more supply, obviously, this is the one. The most important in entrepreneurship, if I have to put, where we are working, and there are a lot of opportunities for the entrepreneurships. Now the world is, turning from conventional to organic. The biggest problem in this industry is the pesticides, heavy metals. These are all contaminants. When we export these products to US, Europe, everywhere, these are the issues. When a produce coming from India to other countries, these are the challenges. And unfortunately, we have, the organic standards, and people are cultivating the organic herbs. There is a lot of contamination across. There are a lot of knowledge is required. So one of the very, very important value addition to this industry is that can we, opportunities, the cultivation of organic certified herbs, then obviously 20 to 30% of the price when compared to the conventional herbs, so we can demand. So that's the one thing. And the following the processing, like the crude herbs are cultivated, and it is coming from the thousands of, the kilometers across the country. Can we have, suburbs like processing units? So we need to travel the truckloads of raw material from north to south. So can we have a semi-processing, industries where we can create an employment? Like for example, the raw herbs, we are cultivating in the Uttarakhand or, other areas, or it is vice versa, like from south to north. So we are trying to build up the semi-processing units where we can create an employment, and where we do is from the raw herbs to, making into the micronization, like it's the powders, and value addition to making into some kind of extracts. So this is not only the farmers, where we bring in a lot of entrepreneurial opportunities from the biotechnologists. Like we have identified some herbs which can be cultivated, through hydroponics, through vertical farming, where we can improve the yield, where we can do the lot of, the economies to this one. So I feel that there are many, many opportunities as an entrepreneur. One is I can say that, organic herbs, there's a lot of demand, and, the biotechnological intervention to increase the yield of these particular medicinal plants. So there are many, so I can add more. Yeah.
To add to what Mr. Babu has mentioned, sustainability should be there at the farm level, as well as sustainability should be focused when we are throwing out food. So when something is produced and it is being wasted, it is just not the produce that is being wasted. The water that went into the cultivation also is going wasted. So the post-harvest management should also be taken as important, and it should be given the equal significance as compared to the sustainability aspects at the farm level. Also adding to what Krishna Kumar Garu and Babu Garu has mentioned, so when organic farming is a new boom, so how do we differentiate between organic and non-organic food that is available in the market? There is nowhere that an end consumer can know just by word of mouth or through some references. People are blindly going ahead and buying the packs which are branded themselves as organic. Whereas if there is a possibility of incorporating a traceability matrix from the farm to the pack, which will then be bought to the home, that would be really impactful, and any technological or any tech that can support the organizations like ITCs and Himalayas, that would actually add quite a lot of value to the end consumer is what I opine.
So to add on to the conversation, my experience talks, especially I'm working with a lot of tribal communities around. You know, the biggest opportunity lies today. Farmer is not confident that every year with my coffee production, what is that I'm going to earn by the end of the year? So with that, first biggest challenge, though the next generation comes down to a conclusion saying that, you know, anyways, my father or my family is not earning, what's the point in me continuing the same farming? This is the biggest opportunity which I see at the first point. And the solution which we have to, or which I suggest at this point of time is, we have to educate the farmer. While in your existing land, it's just not one crop. There are multiple crops that can be also cultivated. There are seasons, there are soils which can make a difference with the same area. The day when the farmer feels, like the way Krishna Kumar sir was talking about, you know, if a cyclone comes or if the natural calamity happens and the season is gone and the soil is gone, what happens for the remaining 6 months? So the farmer should have that confidence level saying that, okay, my coffee crop is gone, but for sure I know with this existing soil I can still do a turmeric or a millet in the same land. That is when the sustainability of the confidence from the farmer goes into the picture. And when we're talking about production level going double, the farmer will also have a confidence saying that I have 3 crops, various crops where I can generate revenue for myself. That's something which I see is a biggest opportunity, because unless until farmer has confidence, he doesn't cultivate whatever sustainability we're talking about, I don't think so will come into a picture. That's my view about it. Thank you.
Hello. So we are talking about what do you call the difficulties in farming and what all the today our total land is chemicalized. So they are talking about it take 4 to 5 years to bring it back. What is the solution? We have a solution which is a probiotic solution. You need microorganisms in the soil which you don't find. So once the microorganisms are there, then you can see the earthworms later. Maybe we can do it in 6 months. We have a solution, one probiotic solution. Then we need micronutrients also. This thing, we have a herbal and what do you call, herbal and natural products. And when it comes to, we have an herbal liquid, which 4 liters of our liquid is equal to 1 ton of urea. So we are working on it, and a lot of farmers in Kurnool district, Chittoor district and Tamil Nadu, they are using our product, likely to come into the market maybe in next 6 to 9 months. Then we have a organic, the biggest problem we are facing is the weedicide. We have an organic weedicide which really works. There is no chemical in it. So we want to make it totally chemical-free nation. And to follow it, there is one agriculturist in Bangalore. His company is called Organic Mandya. He is very, very successful. He is the role model, we can say. He is the first role model in India who is doing it in a real big way. So Organic Mandya, Mahesh, last month there was a, what do you call, he was in ISB. There was a very good seminar from Mahesh. And today the biggest problem we are facing is diabetes. The diabetes, I think above 35, every third or second person is a diabetic. Today we have a herbal product, diabetes. You spray it on your tummy. See on the 50th day and the 30th day where your sugar levels will be. We are selling the product in the market. We have a lot of other herbal products also. Maybe I'll let you know.
Farhan, I'll speak the opportunities which you asked across the value chain in agriculture and specifically in millets. I come from a farming family, and I've seen how it happens. 20 years I was in the village, and I've seen how the entire ecosystem, right? And then next 20 years, I worked in the hospitality industry, business events, and I've seen this side of ecosystem also. So what I noticed is that in my childhood, if you see the agriculture, seeding to feeding, everything was at the home level. Like my mother used to have 30 varieties of seeds stored, and we used to have our own tools. We used to have our own storage equipment, and processing is anyway, it was not commercialized like especially millets. It was hand pounded and hand grinded. Now suddenly, like, we left it, the entire culture which we have preserved and practiced and passed on from generations to generation, in the last 40 years, it has completely broken in the villages. Now, as a result of that, if you see in millet space, no seed is available. When I started my millet journey, I went to Sir's farm in Madanapalli, and I have taken the millet from him. And then, if you look at the storage structure, everything is cement and concrete. There is no culture in the, home architecture itself. There is no storage. And then the third one is most important is that earlier we used to use the stones to, hand clean this whole crop. Now they are putting it in the tar roads and they're letting the vehicles pass. That is actually huge contamination is happening. And, a lot of issues. And also like now there is no agriculture labor availability because we were all combined families. In my house, there were 30 people. And we used to share and care the work. And now there is no labor only. And everything has become small families, husband and wife. Nobody wants anybody in their house. So how can they focus on homework and also, agriculture? It's impossible. So how do we solve this? Whatever the ecosystem at home level, we have to bring it to the community level. And the community development through infrastructure is very much needed. And that is where the models like Lamakan play a major role. Because what I have done is I have converted our own agricultural shed, which was not used for the 15 years. There were rats. I used it as a museum, millet museum. And that is when Ramaji Rao Garu has seen that article that I have converted a millet museum. And then he asked his team to promote across the ETV channels. That is how we become a brand overnight. And I give a lot of credit for that. And that is where the community infrastructure, lot of, the rural people, rural youth, they're very good. They're a lot of energy and all skills are there. Only thing they don't have English. And if you can actually empower them and train them and make them open this community center at the grassroots level, where they will also align with farmers and they will connect market linkages and everything that they will be take care. And that itself will work as a unit to, to develop the whole ecosystem in those. So that intervention, that placemaking and the community development intervention is very much needed. And that is where we have to use one certification course called place manager or something like community manager, rural community manager, where they go open this kind of unused infrastructure and convert into community facilities. That is where the opportunity is there at the grassroots level. And otherwise, across the value chain in processing and in, they can open cafes, they can open a lot of other opportunities there. And I would like to, give one more credit to NABARD for our success. Because when we started, we've not gone for any funding. It's a self-funded initiative. I went and presented our case study in Madurai. NABARD MABIF, there is a small incubation center. And they said, like, Vishala, don't worry, no photographs are needed. You tell me what you want. I said, I want people who manufacture millet products. Within 24 hours, I had complete list. And then they called for capitalistic fund. And we are the winners of capitalist fund, 40 lakhs. And, that is actually made us to be here what we are. So opportunities are there and challenges are there. What we have to do is we have to club it, maybe this end to that end. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Mr. Prasad. He's joined us. He's been a farmer and been in this for the last 25, 30 years now.
Yeah, I will speak a little about millets. After our 2023 International Year of Millets is gone, there is a real slump in millet usage and things have gone to the back door. But what I see is in many districts, lot of people join together with the district collector asking FOs to do a very tasty, good-looking millet biscuits or pizza, burger, bread, a lot of. And I could see very colorful, tasty, where children love it. Now what we think of millets is only when you get diabetes, you use millet. So we will get diabetes. Okay, diabetes may come after 30, 40 years. The good food is required for very child who is born in this country or everywhere. ICRISAT here has recently done a survey saying that the children fed with the millets, particularly ragi, that is finger millet, have grown 26% more in growth and more in brain development. What is this? So now we are feeding the children with a lot of nonsense, with birthday celebrating with cakes, I don't want to name things. And whatever is good and to be a part of our daily life has been thrown out, saying that this is the food for working class. So we eat a lot of pizza, burger, and a lot of things. So the things have changed now. The millets have become very costly because the processing has become very crucial, where you have to do destoning and 2-3 times. A lot of labor are required. And you have to do, without polishing, without losing the lignans on the top surface, you have to make the dehulling. All this has made, even if the price is low at the farmer level, when it comes to the final product, it is coming to 2 times more than what we buy. And of course, after certification, it is becoming more costlier, and common people are unable to reach to the use of millets. So what is our priority? See, now whatever is America doing, Hyderabad is doing, and later Anantapur is doing. So we have to make the people believe that this is a very good food and very costly food. Only then people start eating it. When people in America tear their pants, the people in Hyderabad will tear. When they start eating something wrong, whatever, they'll start eating here. So we should now promote our millets, which are so much diversified now. See, amazing. See, people are saying, oh, eat foxtail, kodo millet, proso, barnyard. Many things are there. We did not stick on to so many things. Many people complain that this is not tasty and all that. I found that kodo millet is more tastier than rice. So whoever asks me, I'll ask them, shift from your rice, man. What rice? Polished white rice, what taste does it have? Unless you mix chicken, mutton, or whatever. Where is the taste for rice? That too, your rice, where you are growing 50 bags by putting 20 bags of urea. Where is the taste for it? You are eating little bit of urea, this much of endosulfan, and maybe some other pesticide and fungicide. Nothing in rice. No energy. I myself started consuming from 2010, after Subhash Palekar's meeting, organic farming and all. See, once you get connected to nature, it will teach you everything. No teachers are required. You just be with the nature. It will teach you. Once I entered into organic farming, then I started working on air and water. Now we collected roof water, 1.4 lakh liters, and we are all drinking, making it alkaline, just passing it through limestone, bricks, pieces, and sand. We are drinking alkaline water. Cities people are buying alkaline water 600 rupees, saying that Virat Kohli is drinking alkaline water, black water, red water, colored water. What water, man? Salt. So much confusion for air, water. So millets have become a very costly, and the problem with elite people is how to cook. This is a big story. Say when a lot of non-vegetarians will be there, but I speak like this only wherever I am called. When stinking fish is rubbed properly and made beautiful grated with ginger and whatever masalas, why not millets cooking, idli, dosha, pongal, lot of things you can make with kodo millet. You make it is so tasty. When Americans could pump their quinoa into our system, selling at 800 rupees, paying 150 or whatever for kodo millet and barnyard millet is not costly, because you are being used to eat so much of white rice, 20 kg per month. 5 kg is enough. Yes. 5 kgs of kodo millet in your whole house is enough. And evening ragi or bajra. And there is a huge scope. Why? Because this is not been come to the households of the rural people and small towns. Still, now it's been promoted only in cities with millet, some brands and other things. When people started promoting rice, because rice is a very premium thing and only jamindars and big people use, like that, promoted 40 years back. And government started producing a lot of rice, putting so many projects, and rice has become cheaper or even free now. And each family is getting so much of rice and they can't throw it, and they are started eating. So there is a big scope, because lot of value addition is being done. Puffs, so many things. So if this can be taken to Europe or America with NIN certification and all that, with the good keeping quality. There is a big scope. See, when we are consuming cool drinks worth billions of dollars in our country, why not we promote good things with value addition, with proper certification, can be exported, and that money dollar should come to India. Our money in the form of creams, lipsticks, and cool drinks should not go to America. That money should come here. For that, we have a lot of opportunities here, and we should all try to explore and try to promote that with small machinery. Now, good players have come in Tamil Nadu. With small machinery, we can do basic processing so that it is available for the rural people. See, why rural people? They are the people still going to the sun and working in the field. They should be healthy. They are producing millets, but they are not eating. Why? Because the processing units are not being properly placed in the villages. If that can be done with some FPO, where conversion happens there in the villages itself, the valuation happens there, basic processing happens there, and they will also get money, and they will also eat it. That is very important. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for that. We were basically actually discussing what are the opportunities and challenges, and especially opportunities for entrepreneurs, which way to go. But I'd, go back to, finding out what are the structural gaps. I mean, you've been in NABARD for a long time, that, we need to close down before the entire, the agriculture 2.0 can take off. I mean, there are sprouts of it everywhere, that there are, experimental things and prototypes of businesses being run, but we have not seen an equivalent of Nestle or something like that, come up. So where are these gaps? And, how equitable can we make this entire process?
Thank you, Ashar. First of all, I was so little bit perplexed as to really what exactly is the theme of this entire talk, because every entrepreneur has given their own way, but as a public policy man, because who was there in the institution for almost close to 37 years, we have some basic things actually which are required for the nation to run. Appreciating the millets, appreciating other things, actually that we cannot discount the production of rice and wheat. I'm not saying that because why actually? We have 140 crores of people, and 140 crores of people have to be fed every day thrice. It's not once. Otherwise there will be revolution. Now actually if you look into the productivity part, or if you look into the other things, actually that why actually the millets, though they were there for ages from the time of Ramayana to now, but thing is the productivity is the biggest issue. Even today, actually, nobody was able to correct that. Even today, if you look into with all the millet mission, international era of millets, what was the millet production in the country? 15, 17 million tons. But the rice, almost in the same area, probably it may produce around 110 or 120 million tons. Because why? You require to feed the people. So, appreciating the millets, because now whosoever can afford, whosoever has got such kind of thing, but thing is at the same time, the Aam Janata need to be fed every day the food, whether it is white, rice or wheat. Now today, actually, why the whole world is looking at India? They are looking at India because you are producing around 350 million tons of food grains, of which close to around 270 million tons are contributed only by the wheat and rice. Now the biggest challenge actually that if you look into the whole of the spectrum, sustainability of the agriculture in the country, actually we have to look into it from that kind of a perspective. Rice cultivation itself, actually now if you take the case of Krishna Delta, Guntur, Godavari and other things, what are the basic problems the farmers are facing? The soil has gone maybe because of excessive use of all the things, actually it has gone. You have irrigation which is there, which is going to be there for the next 100 years also, because we cannot cut short because of the product things are there. But thing is, are people making money from the cultivation? And what are the other issues? Now actually that you are asking really what are the institutional issues and maybe few other things, other infrastructure. Now wherever the agriculture has to be sustainable, there should be sustainable infrastructure. In case of river areas, actually they have put the big dams and they have created the irrigation structures and we are able to cultivate water. But at the same time, that still we are having 60% of area under the rainfall. If that is the case, are we really doing that kind of a sustainability exercise of creating a moisture security? Now, actually, NABARD is the national implementation entity for the United Nations Fund for Climate Change. And we did quite a lot, actually, when we say that despite all the things, actually, still we are so vulnerable. And the things are such things. So now, we have to have a new technology, because now actually this ISF is basically talking about the technology. Now I wish that actually people should really talk about really what are the technologies really that are there and how the startups are doing this kind of a thing. Because agriculture is their age old. But thing is, are the technologies and the startups are adding any value to this one? Now today, what are the biggest challenges we are having? First thing is excess water or no water. So now you have to have a balanced water. And there is excess weeds, and there is excess weedicide spraying, which is killing the entire soil, because now most of the American soils are contaminated with the chemical. And thing is, now Indians today, the first thing every farmer actually, you just to start the, whether it is Annadata or any program in the morning, they say that the moment you just put the seed, actually you spray the weedicide before the germination comes, because now the labor is not there. Now, is it the answer weedicide, or actually there should be a technology thing really where the robots have already come, where they do the inter-row weeding part. Otherwise, there are some kind of a dissolvable mats actually which are very eco-friendly, which you can put on the field, and afterwards you plant the seeds. Actually, now afterward 1 or 2 years it will go. Now the startups are there in that kind of a thing. Then what are the other things actually regarding the productivity? Actually, that there are so many issues now. The same rice cultivation in the country, one spectrum to other spectrum, if you look at it, actually at some place, actually farmers I have seen, farmers are producing 9 tons per acre. And the Indian average is just something around 1700 to 1800 kilos. That is 1.7 to 1.8. Now the actual country is there everywhere. So now in case if we have to do the sustainability, every farmer has to be brought onto the similar kind of a production technologies. And it is the same thing. Then what is the other thing actually? Now you see that organic has become fashion. Organic, some people are doing, but thing is nobody is sure really whether whatever we are eating is organic or not. There are many places. I think today probably you must have seen one news item, actually it is now flashing everywhere. One person with a very little bit of a bilirubin content and a failed liver has been taken to that Haridwar ashram of organic way of treating it. That fellow died, and now actually there is going to be big pictures on it. In case if the system is not validated, I think we are telling the stories. Actually, now the organic, because now I have seen across, because almost around 25 countries I have seen, nobody is very sure the certification given is really correct or organic or not. Everybody is trying to say, mine is organic and his may not be organic. But at the same time, actually, we have a kind of a thing, because now really where is that? Now actually startups in Madhya Pradesh were banned, because they were not doing the same organic kind of cultivation. So now, the traceability is the one thing. Actually, where actually are we having the mechanism? That is where actually the institutional setups are required. Now, horticulture department is doing that kind of organic certification. But at the same time, they are not very regular in doing it. And if you want to go for the international organic certification, that fellow charges a hell of a money to do this kind of a thing. And a farmer cannot do. Now, FPOs have come. Whether FPOs together can do this kind of a thing, this is one thing. And second thing is why the startup funding. Now, actually that now, innovations, if you really look into it, agriculture is age old and it is being done. But thing is, and the Department of Agriculture is also there for the past 150 years, and they have done their job quite well and doing. But at the same time, wherever the startups have come, actually startups are addressing a particular problems. Now take the case of chili, that ITC is into the chili and turmeric export. What was the basic reason? Because sometimes our consignments are coming back, because despite telling actually the protocol, saying that SOPs are given that you should not use this kind of a pesticide, that fellow in his anxiety, in the last minute also he is pressing, and it is going into the crop. And ultimately what happens is, sustainability, in my opinion, it is not only the land to be sustainable, farmer also has to be sustainable, because first of all he should be alive to do this one. Many places actually farmer is making loss. So that is where I think now the entire public policy discourse we should do it. Now in case if you see, because we have NAB Ventures and we have, because I am there in few kind of a venture capital funds, if you look into it, actually some of the problems being brought by the people are really very great. And they are addressing a particular section of that particular issue in a very big way. But at the same time, whether that startup is sustainable, because does he have the volume for doing such kind of a thing? Because now ultimately, there are many places, actually, many agri startups have come. Ultimately, they are not able to go into that kind of a volume kind of a game. Because now actually they work in a very niche and maybe 1,000 farmers, 2,000, 3,000 farmers. And in case if you have to have a state-of-the-art kind of a technology, there should be volumes. I think that is where I think now we have to concentrate, both from the governmental level, private, and also the entrepreneurial level, really how the problem identified can be scaled up. If that is the case, how the things are there. Now, from NABARD's perspective, I will say that actually Vishala was telling that now we have identified this issue, at least maybe because I am not saying that we have done a great wonder, but at the same time, that agri incubation centers we have started in almost around 10 agricultural universities. Like our Telangana Agricultural University and AIDEA, likewise Madurai, they are doing wonderful work. Almost close to around 50 to 60 kind of startups have been scaled up. And we created a catalytic capital and all those things. So now there actually, if you look into the sustainability of the startup is, the first initial capital somebody is giving, and once you just go to a little bit of a thing, actually somebody is not giving the money. So now, whether that is sustainable, now we have to create such kind of an environment where the funding system also should be perfect. Actually, in case if Indian agriculture has to be very sustainable, some of those gaps which we identified, we have to work on it, and the public policy discourse should be on that kind of a thing, without taking away the present consumption pattern. Because now, come what may, 1,400 million people have to be fed, and they have to be given some nutrition. And if you look into the comparable crops, actually that nothing can yield better than wheat and rice. That is where actually the entire thing is gravitated. We are not partial to the wheat and rice, but at the same time, that is the reality. If that is the case, we have to see really how the rice cultivation also can be very sustainable. Besides this kind of maybe millets and these are all niche kind of products. And as you heard, the traditional seeds we are having. Now yesterday I was reading that now somebody is starting the heirloom seeds. Now actually great-great-grandmothers actually they have saved the seeds, and the great-great-grandmother seeds now, if you just sow, probably you will get, you just take the old varieties, the yield is hardly around 5 bags, 6 bags, 10 bags, not beyond that. But thing is whether really they are getting the money. If that is the case, this particular product has to be branded to such a level that they will get the money at par with the other fellow who is getting 5 tons of a normal thing. Now that is where actually that we have to work on the sustainability issues.
Thank you very much for that perspective. I think it was important. Now apart from, running the panel, I'd just like to present a couple of my own views here. So, just to put things into context, okay, I'd just like to mention 3 things. One is that majority of Indians are not Hindus, they are not Muslims, they are not Dalits, they are not Brahmins, they are farmers, okay? And we forget the fact that India will sustain itself if farmer is alive. And if you take farming away from the farmer, there's nowhere else for this person to go. Right? You can't have that many jobs in IT sector. You can't even have that many people in the cities. They have to remain there. So now, on one hand, that is there. On the other hand, we are also looking at the fact that we're talking about farmerless farming now. Okay, we are talking of how there is already a shortage of labor, while 50% of Indians do depend on farming or probably more. So it's a conundrum that we need to solve at that level. Now, from the entrepreneurship point of view, okay, I have very disturbing facts. Not one AgriTech in the last 5 years has got acquired. So all of us, self-included, have nowhere to go, And entrepreneurs can't run an ITC, okay? We can take a particular idea and convert that into a sustainable product, show how it can be done. But beyond that, our route out is getting acquired. So Indian acquisition is abysmal. Funding for AgriTech although there are a couple of venture funds looking at it, but they've got more, shiny new things happening, saying, data is happening, AI is happening, etc., etc. In the middle of it, Vishala comes around and says, I've got one millet thing, keep quiet. What are you saying, somebody else. So it's very easy to get, distracted with this. But on the other hand, so there has to be institutional support, and by that what I mean is, for example, I ran a fund, a venture fund, in which government made a fund of funds for 2,000 crores and said, take this 2,000 crores and put it into semiconductors and aerospace. And we said, okay, all right, we'll run this fund. But there are no equivalents of those funds of funds which will allow sector-specific, investing into AgriTech itself. But on the other hand, there are a lot of opportunities that you see that, a lot of people from the farming community are talking about, for example, de-weeding robots, other ways of doing it. The final challenge for me is data. Okay, what we call as tribal knowledge, what we say as, grandmother's seeds or, traditional ways of doing things. Now, once you convert it into data, it becomes a product. When it becomes a product, it becomes an IPR. And whose IPR is this? Is the big question, right? We should not let this become another thing that the multinationals will sell back to us, our own stuff. So those, I think, are the very, big challenges that we are facing now, and also an opportunity. For example, for an AI company to look at this, I think Mahesh's company is already looking at it, and a couple of them are doing that. I'll open this up to precisely 3 questions because we do not have time. I think there's one question already here. Can I have another 2 questions? 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's it. Sir, please, I'll pass on my mic to you. Is there a mic there? Yeah. We'll just take 3 questions and then be done with it. We'll have to be very short. May I just ask you a very pointed question so that we can move on? And if there's a particular panelist you would like to ask the question to, that would be even better.
Hello? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to be pretty brief.
Yeah.
I come from a commodities trading background globally. Okay? So I can be very pinpointed about it. You referred about weather as a panel. But where are the financial institutions, the LICs or the insurance companies of the world who cannot come up with the weather futures in India? You talk about all kinds of problems happening, droughts and floods and whatever. Where are the brains of India that are not able to come up with the weather futures that can be then used to hedge crops?
Yeah, fantastic.
That's the first question. Second question, time and again, this has been 10, 20 years association with India for me, or maybe 30 years. I cannot find a bigger entrepreneur than the farmer in India. He is the biggest risk taker in the country. I can guarantee this. He does not know what price he is going to get for his produce. He's planting something and hoping for the best. It's left to God, ultimately, right? Tell me one entrepreneur who can run a business with not knowing his budget, not knowing his financials. What is the answer? Where are the price curves available for the commodities that they're growing? Where are the exchanges that can give you a price 6 months forward? If you don't create all that, how are you going to do this? You can have tech talks, but it's not going to change anything. Technology is not the solution. Thank you.
Kumar, would you like to take this?
Sir, the challenge is quite obvious, like brief comment from your side. There's no doubt about in our mind. I think only one, there are many number of solutions in this. Based on our own experience, what I can tell is, ITC also, because we are working with 6 million farmers, one of our digital initiative is ITC Mars, where Meta Market for Advanced Agriculture and Rural Services, where we try to look at giving a comprehensive solution to the farmer to enable him to have a demand-driven crop supply chain, and production is aligned with the demand, as well as it is weather resilient. Various technological interventions, customized crop advisories, packages, access to the right input, right advisory, as well as right pricing trends, as well as weather forecasts, so that farmer, what he needs to do, what he can anticipate in terms of supply side challenges like weather, as well as the market side challenges like what price he can expect, what sort of demand he can expect. I think there are so many things which we can do based on the big data collection from the millions of the farmer, doing the what if analysis in terms of various crop modelings as well as the future forecasting methodologies, which is helping the farmer to address more effectively the supply side challenges as well as the market challenges in meeting the customer requirement. I think we can go on hours or hours. Positive of time, I'll close here. Thank you.
I think a very valid question you asked. Definitely, India requires futures trading. India requires weather futures. And attempts have been made. I am not saying it has been done. Like National Commodity Exchange is basically a futures trading kind of a market where the prices are almost actually one can sell in the futures, like the way the Chicago futures are anything. But the problem with maybe the India, maybe when compared to US or any other thing is, here probably 2022, there was a 10% drop in wheat in the country. And there was a chaos all over. And suddenly the government of India has clamped a restriction, no futures trading and no trading at all. So now actually, as you are telling, sometimes actually that whether the institutions, this kind of institution should be away from the public policy because they should be run on a corporate. Because as he was telling, in case of ITC, he is the master because he says that I want maybe 10,000 tons of chilies. And he can organize the 10,000 farmers who can produce 10,000 chilies. He can give them the everything, including the price. Because now actually as per the Swaminathan formula or any kind of thing, you say that actually if you are spending 50,000 rupees, you are getting 1 lakh rupees because my price is this one. And in case if the market is better, probably you may get even more also. Now that is what. This is what actually the future has been put on the NCDEX for the farmers at large. But thing is actually now that system has become little bit incapacitated. And second thing is the weather related kind of thing. Now some people have started because now there are some few startups which have become very big also. They told actually that now they'll give actually almost it is a competitor to the IMD, Indian Meteorological Data Department, and they also used to give the weather data. Next year is going to be 96%, 99%. And they told that they can even charge a fee and say that to the farmer, now actually you are going to produce this much, in case if you are producing less, actually I will pay the money also. But thing is that kind of a startup also, probably because of either weather vagaries or not having enough funding to support that kind of a thing. Now they are not in the picture at all. Now there is a weather-based insurance company has come. Actually, I know that one of the things is from Hyderabad itself. But they charge a little higher to the farmer and not much of a state patronage. Because now our farmer mentality is also, whatever is there, the government has to do. Because there is a flood, he said that now we take the case of Vijayawada. Now actually yesterday if you are seeing the visuals, the chief minister, the all houses which were having the mud, innovatively he took the fire engines and got all the houses cleaned up with this kind of thing. Now 3 fellows came on the TV, said that, "Arey sir, you have done everything, but thing you see this, my fridge was not properly washed." Now this is the way actually like the insurance also the same thing. Now what they say, when it comes, actually everything is good. Otherwise, the government has to pay me the whole thing. Now, actually, that because I was there in NABARD and really how the insurance things were done. If you look into the historical data, ever since the crop insurance has been started from 1980s till 2020, there are only 16 districts in the country got the insurance cover. They fleece almost close to around 85% of the insurance, because there the people, politicians and the farmers, everybody knows really how to make the things and all things. And the rest of the people are left high and dry. So really, as you are telling, now this thing has to be in the domain of the private, because where the profit motto is also should be the thing, so that the services are also good. Otherwise, if it is a public thing, actually everybody thinks, okay, now Babu karega, or Babu, whether he will do it or not, nobody knows about it. So actually that the futures trading, actually, which we are fighting for the past maybe at least 10, 20 years, still it has not been materialized. That is the thing. Actually, a big corporate can afford to do the futures fixation because they have such kind of a mechanism to do for their limited quantity. But the country as a whole, this is where we are producing 750 million tons of various products. Probably there is no mechanism like that right now.
I'm sorry we have to cut this short. Yeah, we just have to cut short because I'm unfortunately not even taking the other 2 questions now. But what we can do is we can probably, meet up with the panel now. We'll be available here, and we can probably, catch up with each other over a cup of tea or something. But yeah, I'm sorry about this, but we're running short of time. We started late, and then this time compression, another session to go before lunch. So thank you very much, and I really appreciate you all being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, panel. And just for about a minute, I request Mahesh and Jay sir to come up on stage to felicitate all the panelists. It was a good mix of people from the policy background, entrepreneurs, and also from the industry who shared their insights. Thank you very much, esteemed panel, for these brief points that you made. The people who had questions, I think you can connect offline over a cup of coffee and then take your questions there. Over to Jyoti for the next CXO Connect.
Thank you, Bernie. So after a successful day, eventful day 1, I know that the way today is progressing is really good. Morning we had a good FinTech round. Now we had a good AgriTech round. Now I very well know that I'm standing between you and your lunch. So it's a hard task what I have now and my leaders have now. So we made sure that we have an agenda that will give a priority to everybody. You will definitely delay your lunch. So with that expectation, we are moving towards CXO Roundtable. I'm Jyoti. I'm an executive director in one of the US bank here as part of ISF core team. It's my privilege to call our panelists for today for CXO Roundtable. May I request Sanjeev Deshpande garu, EVP, Head of APAC, MD India entity. He's also going to chair this, moderate this panel discussion. Adit Subedi, Chief Growth Officer, HealthTech from USA. Chaitanya Gurapati garu, MD, Disha. Dennis Vermeulen, CEO of House of Companies, Netherlands. Edward Cole, CEO, Catalyst Technology, UK. Manohar Reddy garu, founder, Fuji. Ravi Nimagadda garu, CEO, CTO, Intelligent Design from USA. Satya Tadimeti, founder, CEO, Startup Crafters. Srinath Barankusham, partner, Siri Advisory from Netherlands. I'm not sure if we got Sumit Mathur from ServiceNow. Other than that, we also have one more guest, OSS Prasad Garu, Chairman MD Kakatiya Group of Industries. Thank you, sir. I request all panelists to be on dais, and I'm handing over mic to Sanjeev Deshpande Garu, who will be moderator of session. Over to you, Sanjeev.
Thank you, Jyoti Garu. I think some of you probably have been attending many sessions, and startup in Hyderabad especially has been one of the key focus areas for ISF, and many conferences have been held in last couple of years. But if you look at overall, a lot of industry bodies plus corporates, everybody has been focusing on the startup. So there is a reason why everybody talks about the startup. At least my opening comments confining to the India context. Employment is one of the key challenges that the country is facing. No matter how exponentially the corporates grow, the reality is that they will not be able to create employment anywhere close to what startups could potentially. So startups are extremely important, one from the country's employment perspective, because unemployment can lead to a lot of other civil challenges.
So that's one number. Second is the economic prosperity that is all around, not just limited to specific houses, but rather if the economic prosperity has to reach to the every nook and corner of the country, startups hold the key. So from that perspective, startup success is in a way going to define the country's success. The startup's ability to collaborate and provide value to the global ecosystem, global companies, global customers, that can only mean that we are able to bring in prosperity to the country that ultimately can be distributed to the employees and so on and so forth. So in that context, I'm actually very, very happy to have a very esteemed panel with me to provide their experience, share their thoughts, and also give ideas so that all of the people, and I think the audience of this panel is not the audience who are only in this room. I'm pretty sure the content of what we discuss is going to reach hundreds and millions. So from that perspective, let's make it very, very impactful. Ultimately, we should be able to create a kind of a white paper that can be circulated among the startup founders and even to the policymakers who may learn a thing or two as to what can be done to further improve the startup ecosystem. So I will not take too much time introducing every panelist. What I would request all the panelists to do is maybe give one single thought and along with that provide their quick introduction. After that, we'll go through the main round. So we'll start with Ravi. And Ravi, a quick introduction and a very quick thought of 1 or 2 sentences.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Sanjeev, for having me. So my name is Ravi Nimagada. I'm based out of New Jersey. I'm the founder and CEO of Intelligent Design. And as a company, we are a startup ourselves because we start something or the other every year. And we are an ecosystem company. So my focus today is going to be on how to make the startups into inclusive manner and how we can contribute to each other's success and how we are not looking at each other as layers, but how we can create an effective leaning on each other to collaborate. Thank you.
Respected Jay Garu, ISF committee and distinguished panel, thank you for having me here. I am Manohar Reddy. I am the founder, CEO of UG. Just a quick introduction. I started as an entrepreneur growing mushrooms, made some films, worked in the solar industry, now trying to build some solutions in the automation and AI space. I'm looking forward to hearing more than speaking. Thank you.
Hello, audience. Again, thank you very much for having me here. My name's Edward Cole. I'm founder of Catalyst Technology. My background is in financial markets, particularly digital trading systems, electronic trading marketplace, and through my understanding of how software like Bloomberg completely revolutionized and magnified the speed in which financial markets grew. And the way they did it was because the players themselves, the markets, started to share information conveniently amongst themselves in order to get better transparency and more trust in the pricing of financial products. And like our previous Ravi, for example, myself also, we're now in the startup business, using that information, using that learnings from the financial markets, and bringing that to other areas like the health and across agriculture and other industries where data is not currently available safely. You can't apply AI responsibly, and so they need the underpinning technology to enable the safe sharing of reliable data. That's me, and I hope to contribute to how the new economy of young people working for themselves are going to be empowered to access the internet safely and go about their business.
Thank you for having me. My name is Satya Tadimedi. I'm the CEO and founder of Startup Crafters based out of Los Angeles. My journey is actually, so until 2010, I've been running a startup, basically, technology company into hardware and software, innovation and design background. Now we're running a venture studio and an accelerator and a venture fund, healthcare fund in the US. So we built about 30 startups in the last 40 months. So out of which about 6 are healthcare specific and rest of them are AI. We run our own GPU data center, AI lab for our startups. So I'd like to thank you, Jay Garu, for this opportunity.
Hi, my name is Adit Subedi. I'm the Chief Growth Officer of HealthTech. So we are based out of US and the Middle East. It's basically into cybersecurity solutions. We started the firm in 2019, and basically I'm particularly responsible for developing the market in the US and in the Middle East. So I would really try and touch upon the challenges, that a startup, feel in developing the business, and also try to provide some tip to how to overcome such challenges in a competitive market. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chaitanya Gorepati. The two hats that I wear, one, my corporate job, which is as a managing director for DE Shaw India. DE Shaw is a global hedge fund. And my second hat is as a startup founder of an F&B brand that's trying to scale up within the country. And I look forward to this interaction where I can try and see how we can bridge the two experiences of one being a startup, but also having a wealth of corporate experience. And I've been a mentor for some of the ISF startups for the last 1.5 years, and happy to share my experiences. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Srinath Parankusam. Is it audible? Yeah. I'm Srinath Parankusam, partner of Siri Advisory. It's a strategic consulting firm I'm located out of Amsterdam. So we are present in 6 countries, including India. In India, we call ourselves a startup. I'll be speaking on all the, I can advise on all the startups. One message for all the startup is, don't have the word called failure. I would recommend you convert that into a learning. That is the message which I could give it to you.
Hello, I am OSS Prasad, 1980 IIT Delhi graduate in mechanical engineering. I had been selected by a company called Chevron in Texas. I was there for a couple of decades, specializing in the refinery. Business is in my blood. Startup is on every item I eat. Morning, I get up with a cup of coffee. There is some startup in that. So in my career, when I was there in Chevron, we have commissioned one plant 12 days ahead of the schedule, which has made me $100,000 richer in 2001, which is worth 100 crores in a Jubilee Hills plot today. That is what is the greatness of the startup. In my engineering company, I am now group chairman of Kakatiya Group of Industries. My technicians, my supervisors, my engineers, my managers, everybody, every day, every moment is a challenge to manufacture a thing. They have to use their brains. That is a startup challenge. For that moment, they have to do something and succeed in that. That is the only way. Thank you.
Hello, yeah. Be liberal with claps. Somebody's clapping, then holding it back. Don't worry. We'll welcome your claps.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm Dennis. I'm founder of House of Companies. I'm a former founder of Inco Business Group in the Netherlands. We used to facilitate entrepreneurs to expand overseas. And I was very frustrated about all the red tape and the accounting requirements and the fact that when you speak business to a businessman, somehow you speak about formalities, about costs. If I ask someone, how do I start a company in India, they start about contacting a lawyer or how the formation deed should look like. So out of frustration, I basically sold my first company with a plan to democratize global entrepreneurship, to make entrepreneurship accessible for students, for young entrepreneurs, without spending a lot of money on lawyers and accountants. So that's one of my purposes here today. I'm opening an office in India, trying to connect with incubators, with universities, with formation agents and all that. And slowly we are developing a platform that will allow for more self-incorporation and self-governance self-governance by the entrepreneurs. So that's me in a nutshell. If you like to connect, please let me know.
Thank you, Dennis. As you could see, based on the introductions, these are a very esteemed and accomplished leaders who only have not grown their businesses, but also are actively helping the startup ecosystem grow and realize its full potential. So I think to me, while I try to limit my comments to minimum so that we get the opportunity to hear from all of our other CEOs, I still would like to start with giving a brief context. Startups, while there are numerous opportunities, most of the opportunities and most of the attention at least is being paid to the tech-based startup. So I will encourage our CEOs to kind of also touch upon certain non-tech related situations, scenarios. Second, most of the startups, we talk about Silicon Valley, we talk about maybe New York, New Jersey area, Hyderabad, Bangalore areas. But there is also a tremendous other potential that is sitting in many, many other parts of the globe, especially in India and tier 3, tier 4, tier 2 towns. I think if you can also see what can be done there and what's already happening there, if you can enlighten us based on your experience, that can be fantastic as well. The other key topic is, while startups are there, a lot of opportunities, but if you are not careful, be it for the startup founder experience or otherwise, there could be a lot of challenges that may come our way. Right from the opportunities, how do you develop the product, how do you get the customer validation, how do you take it to the market, how do you scale it up, where do you get the funding from, what type of constraints, restrictions that you have. All of that learning, I think most of us probably already have gone through. So maybe as we discuss, let's also touch upon those topics. And while we have a very esteemed panel, I think we also have a limitation on time. So I probably will take one type of question to 2, 3 of my panel members, and then the next question. So kind of we touch upon all of these key topics. So let's start with the opportunities. So to talk about the opportunities that exist currently, first let me go to Dennis. You talked about the opportunities. Why don't you expand on your previous answer about what opportunities you see for the entrepreneurs here in Hyderabad, in India, and also globally?
Well, yeah, thank God you add globally, because I'm not an expert on the Indian market just yet. So, yeah, the opportunities are, of course, enormous, but at the same time, I heard the comment today not to be afraid of failure. The fact is, 99% of startups fail. So that's why we call the unicorns next door unicorns. They are rare. So if 99% of participants of any program, if they fail, so how scientific is the curriculum then? So I would say, of course, we can talk very scientifically about market research and opportunities, but at the same time, most successful startups, most successful unicorns are driven by, by spirit and by connection to what they like to achieve. So when I met several startups next door, I noticed some even have the same vision, the same actual product, which does not decrease your chances, of course, to fail. So I think one of the biggest opportunities is indeed focused on globalization, because globalization allows you to test different type of propositions. Perhaps your software does AI recruitment in India, but due to scarcity of IT staff in Europe, it might do something else, like onboarding of new customers in Europe or a specific European country. So the main problem with small and starting entrepreneurs, young startups, related to global opportunities are the costs, right? You cannot simply test out everything in any single country. And that's where House of Companies gets in, and several government incentives. The easier you can enter a new market, the better. And that experience will make you, as an entrepreneur, your company more valuable. So even if you are part of the 99% that will fail, if you have experience with another country, with a concept of entering a new market and having the right mindset to adjust your entity, to adjust your business to the global landscape, or the particular landscape of the country of market entry, you are more valuable. You will be a better entrepreneur, and then your next venture will also be better. So I think that is the biggest opportunity the low-hanging fruit for a relatively small investment, you can become a global entrepreneur and diversify your risks and increase your value of yourself and your business.
Thank you, Dennis. I think the opportunity is just enormous. If I have to summarize, I think, opportunity to become a global entrepreneur and also contribute in a very meaningful way into the country and to the society. And Satya, you are startup crafters. You have an incubator. You have been helping more than 30 startups in 40 startups in the last 30 months or 30 startups in the last 40 months, 3.5 years. So what opportunities that you have seen, where the startups have been most successful, and if you have to encourage somebody here, where do you think they should focus?
Thanks for this. So first of all, anybody who's starting a startup, I think need to develop a deep subject matter expertise and or get mentors first. And then there's opportunities everywhere. Don't just go by AI or something trendy. Of course, AI can be leveraged for any startup idea. But we encourage basically what we do is we have a vertical focus in healthcare, and we have an AI focus for every vertical. It's like that. One is a technology focus, one is the industry focus. So what I recommend is everybody just, look at the subject matter expert and become an advisor. Plan very well, validate at every stage, and then actually there's so much of opportunity available, so much of investment. And also one more thing, don't start a startup just for raising fund. Okay, just make it a self-sustainable as much as possible, and funding will automatically flow. And there are opportunities all across, in fact. The US, India is booming. Future is India, actually. So, thank you.
Thank you, Satya. It's a very valuable advice, because a lot of times it does so happen that we start the startup, we go through maybe certain rounds, then we realize that probably we could have done something else. So the early validation, and also do something with more passion and with a purpose behind it. Thank you. Srinath, I know you come from advisory firm, but I think to me, if you also can expand on what is your experience has been in interacting with the startups, and where do you think they can be most successful, and where do you see most opportunities lie for startups?
Okay. I'm a bit nervous, very sorry for that, because I hardly speak in public. It's important that we have, thank you. We are a 12-year-old company. I wouldn't say we are a startup, we are a 12-year-old company, and we do a pro bono advisory to startups. The reason why I said pro bono is we know the pain of a startup. When we started the organization, we know what kind of pains a startup undergoes. That's why we decided that anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur, we advise them pro bono. And as one of my panelists, co-panelists said, do not start an organization for the sake of earning money. Money should follow your passion. And you have to have passion to do passion, what you want to do, then money will follow. That's first thing. And second point is, if you really want to contribute to the society, we don't need to think quite big. We don't have to be like Facebook or Google or so forth. First, let us do that. If, as an organization, I can give employment to 6 people, and that itself is a great contribution from an individual to the society. And what I saw is, sorry, I'll take one more minute. One of the greatest startups during recent time is the IFS, which under Mr. J.A. Chaudhary Garu. This is one of the greatest startups where everybody is serving without any interest, vested interest. They are intended, the intention is to serve the society, to encourage the startups, build the entrepreneurs. As India, we are one of the greatest employees in the world, the number of employees are more in India. we produced employees in last 45, 50 years to the world. Let us produce employers to the world. That is what I say. Any other advice, please? I'm there.
No, I think it is absolutely fantastic. You know, it's a quotable point that you mentioned. You know, probably we should make it a part of our white paper. We have been creating employees. Let's create employers as well. Fantastic. Now, moving on, let's say from the opportunities, the next challenge that the startups face is my idea validated? You know, of course, you know, we have passion. We develop something that we love. But is there somebody, you know, who is willing to pay for what we have developed? I think, you know, early validation is actually going to make the startup a lot more successful. So from that perspective, customer centricity. If you are designing something that is based on who is going to consume it rather than our own fancy, I think the chances of success are a little higher. So to comment on the customer centricity, I would ask Adit to provide his thoughts.
Thank you, everybody. So customer centricity, right, or the client centricity is again is part of sales and service. Now, yesterday, I think JS mentioned about, you know, if a startup is coming with a disruptive or a path breaking, is solving some issues that will sell, that organization will grow. But generally in other spaces, what is happening is we are seeing a lot of competition, not only in India, globally. Every market is getting crowded, right? Now, I run a company, I meet a lot of vendors who are top tier vendors, middle tier vendors, okay, ready to give me the solution. When I go to the clients always have a very less bandwidth, okay? So what you need to do, you need to pitch. You have all the solutions available. All the vendors are with you. What is the challenge? Challenge is basically scalability, right? Every founder is thinking about scalability here. I met a friend of mine who is basically co-founded a startup in San Francisco, and that organization is today a unicorn. Right? I stayed with him for 4 days, and then I asked him, like, what is your top line? So we do about $50 million. $1.2 billion is a valuation and sales is $50 million. 4 days I stayed with him, I could hardly spend 5 minutes because the guy is under tremendous pressure, right? Scalability is an issue. So client centricity, customer centricity is becoming a key, even in the tech field now, you know. If we look at 20 years ago, how we used to see all the credit card business, insurance business, banking and financial products, what used to happen? We used to see a culture of sales, right? Go B2B, do sales. Similar thing has to happen in tech companies today. You know, building a sales culture in the organization. That's what I feel. Everybody talks about sales if they want to grow. Now, of course, somebody mentioned about being, you know, doing something for a social cause, which is there, which is good. But if a startup is serious about growing to scale, right, and meet the demand of the investors, right, because investors are always on their head, this is very important, I believe. Now, strategies could be very different, right? Client is always in the center. I'll give you an example. I have a mentor who is based out of California. He is from the earlier batches of IIT Roorkee. Okay, he's set up, he's in, you know, advisors to the boards of various tech startups. He's also done real estate investments in the Middle East and the US. I told him when I started, I have a cybersecurity company, right? I need to scale this business. I have a team. What do I do? When I met a lot of other people, they told me, wow, it's an in thing to be, right? Cybersecurity is everybody needs. But yet, I'm not able to realize the revenue. Why? Because there's a lot of competition. So he told me one thing, do cold call. Right? I mean, I said, why would I do a cold call? Why would my team do a cold call? Do cold call. You know, so the reference is basically not exactly to do the cold call, but building that mindset, you know, of sales and customer centricity. That is, I think, important, you know, to scale up. Thank you.
customer centricity, if it is done correctly, then it also helps tremendously with the go-to-market. So thank you. Chaitanya, would you also like to comment on the same topic, customer centricity and the go-to-market for the startups?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So taking on from what my predecessor said, I think let's focus on why is customer centricity so important. And from my personal experience, running a non-tech 3 brands in F&B, what we've realized is as much as we do in terms of sales and marketing, and you pump in money, you pay social media influencers, blah, 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 but that one testimonial of a customer and that one referral from a customer, that word of mouth and that organic growth is the most powerful. So both in terms of customer acquisition, but most importantly, customer retention. And how do we retain is only through customer service. That is super powerful. And some of the things that come to my mind in terms of focusing on the right customer centricity and service is firstly, having a really good quality product. Are you delivering what you've promised? Often we have a tendency to overpromise and underdeliver. And that's one of the first key to failure. To build that trust with the customer, you have to deliver what you've promised and do it consistently. It's not just about doing it once, but doing it every single time that the customer expects you to deliver. The second thing is how quickly can we innovate on the customer needs. You've sold them something for the first time, but their needs evolve. So how are you keeping up pace? If you don't keep up pace, as their needs evolve, they're going to find someone else to supply. So how much are you in touch with them, partnering with them, and continuing on their journey such that they really make you their true partners? That's second. The third, we always talk about ease of doing business for a startup, right? We need X from government, we need Y from government, and so on and so forth. But how many times do we think about ease of doing business for our customers? How easy is it for customer to reach us? Do we have a dedicated point person for them? How quickly are we able to answer their questions? What's our turnaround time? What's the response rate? Are we able to successfully solve their questions? I think that concept of ease of doing business for every single customer is really, really important. And finally, I would say seeking feedback. We often think that, all right, we've delivered and we've got paid, that's the end of it. But we often miss out that key element of seeking proactively feedback from the customer on be it the product, be it the service, and holistically, what was their experience? Because end of the day, we all want to improve, we all want to get better and gain more customers. So there's nothing more powerful than that 0-hour feedback from every single customer on what could we do better. So those are some of the things that come to my mind in terms of customer centricity.
Thank you, Chaitanya.
I would like to add one more important point when it comes to customer service. The organization should be honest to the customer. And second is, we do mistakes. And just communicate that to the customer honestly, that we have done mistake, we will do it or we will make it better. Then the customer will be with you. And just to let you know, over 12 years' time, we have not lost even a single customer till now. So that's the thing. You have to be honest to your customers.
Great to hear. The common denominator, like technology today, is going to be available to every company. So the key differentiators are going to be integrity, ethics, and maybe the attention to the planet, the sustainability. These are the 3 key differentiators that are going to differentiate the companies from one to another. So thank you, Chaitanya, for adding to that point. We will, generally I'm very right biased, just kidding. We spend a lot of time on the left side of my table here. Now let's go to Edward Cole. If you can comment on the ecosystem, in generally what you see as the right ingredients that are required for the success of the startup ecosystem. So.
Hi. I'll do my best to comment on the ecosystem. I think it's a tremendous word, and I think it's very, very relevant. And I'd like to sort of overlay it with put myself in the situation of somebody who's trying to build technology, build a startup. What does that really mean? I think if you look at the environment today, we've got an awful lot of power, an awful lot of ownership, all sitting on one side of the fence. The internet now has 4 or 5 very large companies which dominate the internet as a gateway. So the internet today is not really fit for purpose in terms of giving the young entrepreneur access to their marketplace. And as Dennis was saying earlier, the compliance overhead, the number of layers of regulation, and the number of third parties you have to pay for to get access to your customers safely is really a challenge that needs to be addressed. And I think this is covering not just this forum here, but we saw that in AgriTech, where they've got tremendous amounts of third-party burdens in the way. Again, you'll find it in FinTech, we know about it anyway, but actually FinTech's moving really quickly to disintermediate. And of course, we're seeing a lot of barriers in health compliance, which you can understand, but they still need to be addressed. So my message from that, if you look at that map at the moment of participation, and then you look at which has already been mentioned a lot today, about the demographic of India and the opportunity for India, it's pretty much saying, relative to the rest of the world, that the young people own the opportunity in India. But how is India government and India big business going to make sure they don't suppress that and they give you the opportunity to participate and own part of the stake of that success? Then we get back to the ecosystem. In effect, if you're building something for you to be the mountain all on your own, well, you'll probably, if you're brilliant, you'll eventually be successful and somebody will pay attention. But actually, not many of us are not brilliant, but we do have ideas. And if you can prove an idea and execute an idea once, you can probably do it many times. And we see other examples on this panel where people have done it before and then get better at it the second time. Now, I'm not allowed to talk forever. I could talk for a long time, but I'm not going to talk forever. Where I see the opportunity for young people is the internet. We do need a safer internet. And the way that the young people, they already know how to use the social media tools. They already know how to speak to each other and form communities. So in effect, you've got to find that community that actually cares about what it is you want to deliver, the changes you want to make. And some of those communities are going to be small and very niche because it's a particular technology or it's a particular capability you're looking to develop. And other ones are going to be very much bigger and enable you to have the influence you otherwise wouldn't. So what I'm really driving at is you have to hold hands, you have to share your philosophy, you have to build those communities. And if you do that, instead of just patching, and when I say patching, I mean building technology for the big monoliths today in the hope they're going to pay you a fortune to take your technology, I'm not sure that's your best idea. I think your best idea is to learn how to deliver technology to each other, to put up a threat to the current undemocratic internet that we have, and actually offer a very scalable alternative. That's my vision. Thank you.
Thank you. It is very, very important what you mentioned, especially now the word that you use, undemocratic. I think there is now the opportunity probably lies ahead as to how do we make it more democratic. So continuing on that same, Ravi, if you can comment on the ecosystem and also the emerging technologies, be it Web3. Web3 kind of taken a little bit of a hit, but maybe comment on that as well, as to how can we make it more accessible and what is the ecosystem changes that you expect to happen for the startups to be successful.
Sure, there are 2 dimensions of the ecosystem that we typically talk about. One is an ecosystem that will enable you to succeed, and second is an ecosystem that you expect to be around you. So let's talk about the ecosystem that you want to be a part of it. So there are different type of cohorts that can come in. If you are a seasoned professional doing some other job, some other profession, some other business in the past, and you started a new business today. For you to be successful, there are certain things that you need to unlearn from your old traits, because your previous context is going to drive you to think and operate in a certain way, and your new journey is going to expect you to do certain things, and sometimes being nimble, sometimes being honest. You might not have done sales before. You have been a technologist. So that's one type of thing if you have an experience and the background of doing some other thing before or some other way before. The second type of cohorts that we see in the startup are the first-time startup. So they typically start just because they have an idea and they have a passion. They have an interest, really. They see a problem. They see an opportunity to drive a certain type of an outcome. But they don't understand that they don't have a lot of things that they needed to be able to operate as a business. So the first and foremost important thing is to understand what you don't have. And once you understand what you don't have, then you can seek for those things, you can look for those things and ask for those things. And don't be shy, number one. Number two, when you are seeking for things, be clear in terms of be able to willing and accept. Sometimes if you have to do it yourself, you'll do it in a certain way. But you have a help, you have an assistance, you should be willing to accept the help in a certain way. So these are some of the ways of working that we tell most of the startups that we work with. And I also want to tie back to the customer centricity, product validation topics that were previously talked about. You can leverage, if you choose to be, or if you have plugged yourself into an ecosystem, you can get a lot of things that you don't have to take a burden on yourself, because somebody else would have already done it. So you just need to follow some of those methods, some of those steps. For example, we used to refer this as customer zero. When you have a solution, when you have a prototype, for you to validate your product, your solution, you need a customer who not only can endorse and reference, but also can contextualize about the use and the value a product or a solution or a service can deliver. So you need to find a customer who can champion that validation phase, and that's a very important aspect of your ecosystem. Then there are certain things that you don't have to do it yourself. And be honest on that, that if you are a techie, don't try to be a salesperson. Have somebody use for your sales and your marketing, right? Don't hesitate to take help. There are a lot of pro bono opportunities that you can dip into until you get into a positive revenue mode. So things that are not in your core competency, please try to lean on others. That's number two. And lastly, be very empathetic to your customers, your cohorts, everybody working on. Otherwise, ecosystems cannot survive.
Thank you, Ravi. Very, very valuable. Actually, before I come to Manohar Reddy Garu, Adit, I want to comment on something.
I just would like to continue on what the gentleman said, you know. Separate the sales team from the tech team. Now, I'll give you an example. My business, I focus mostly on the banking and financial sector. So, and I'm not a tech person, I'm not a cybersecurity specialist. I have a team of tech leads and tech team who are experienced set of people who deliver complex projects to the client, right? But what happens, the CISOs in the bank, right, the IT heads in the bank, invariably call me in a span of 3 to 4 days. Because somewhere there is a communication gap. Now again, I'm talking about the client centricity, right? With the tech team, because tech team do not, they are still learning, not all of them do not have that, you know, the wavelength sometimes required to address the client's problems. So they eventually call me, and if I tell them, you know, it will get done. Don't worry, I will take it up. That's all they want to listen to. So basically, when they know that there is somebody, right, whom you can rely upon, that's where you get the project, you get the repeated clients, and the clients will always remain happy, the business will be sticky. So yeah, it's important to differentiate and then build again that, you know, customer-centric, you know, team within the organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Manohar Reddy Garu, thank you. I know you have a very tight schedule, you need to leave at 1 is what you told me. But before you leave, you have built many startups successfully across different industries. You know, most of us kind of stick to one industry, but you have built, you can even produce movies. So your entrepreneurship journey probably is going to be a lot more inspiring because you have lived through all of these realities. If you can share your experience and advice to these startups.
Yeah, rather than advice, I'll just share my experience and see if it's relevant to some of the startups and young people here. See, I want to talk about why entrepreneurship. Okay? So entrepreneurship is a way of life. That's how I have taken, of course, with some of the experiences I have gone through in my childhood or while growing up. We saw the difficulties. The only way I could actually create the wealth is through entrepreneurship, not by going to a job or going through a career. So I don't want to talk about all the difficulties. You all know about it. Entrepreneur has to burn midnight oil. A lot of times it's a sleepless nights and all of that. I'll stop there. But coming back to what it means, how many of you have seen Godavari movie? A lot of them. Yeah, it's a beautiful movie. So my good friend Shekhar Kambala directed it. So there is a situation or a scene where the heroine Sita, who is played by Kamalini Mukherjee, is trying to set up a boutique. And the father says, why are you struggling? Why don't you just get married? Why all this, struggle? Then she says, Nana, I can get married, then there'll be, I'll get a couple of children, then we'll go and buy some 2-bedroom house. The life can get a little boring. I want to do something on my own. I want to experience the life. That's what she says. That's entrepreneurship. Okay? So again, you have to choose whether it is for you. Sometimes you may have to go through one company or one startup experience to even realize whether you are made for entrepreneurship. I believed in two things, or rather I won't say I would know this when I started, but at least after 32 years. In 32 years, I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years, worked for 7 years as an employee, but I used that only to come back to entrepreneurship. Whenever I failed, I went to a job. Whenever I could manage a little bit of expenses, came back as an entrepreneur. So I can tell you what I believed in. At least when I look back, this is the summary I got. There is nothing that you have done is a waste in your journey. It comes back again and again, and it helps you. Second, you have to believe that everything happens for a reason. Either it's a failure, setback, success, everything. So I'll give you an example. I worked as an R&D engineer for about 7 years, worked in the solar photovoltaic industry, then completely moved away to IT and all that. So anybody can say, hey, you studied mechanical engineering, went in, then why did you leave? After 20 years of gap, I had an opportunity to buy a solar company 3 years ago. And that became one of the most promising companies. I already sold a spin-off in May, and I'm actually have a concrete offer now for buying the remaining company. These two companies are making a lot more money than what I made in the 2 IT companies I have sold before. So never ever have to worry that you did something that went waste. Everything is a learning experience. My father-in-law, when I went with, Shekhar Kambala is a good friend, I left my job and went to make a movie, Dollar Dreams, back in '97. He thought that he has destroyed his daughter's life. And he started saving for my his grandson, I had a just son. He thought that this first son-in-law is gone. So the same guy, of course, we made very successful movies like Happy Days, Life is Beautiful, Anand and all that. Then suddenly when one day he calls me when I was in US, I was doing okay. Then he says, Manohar, I want to tell you something. 15 years ago, I thought I have destroyed my daughter's life. I just want to tell you that I was wrong, and I'm happy to be that. So the thing is, the entrepreneurship can create experiences that I can tell you, we all have one life. We don't know what is the second life, or we don't even know whether it's a human life again. Fortunately, of course, Jaya Garu has been around through my journey. I was able to go and adopt my village with the 3,000 people and convert that as a model village. Took a 2 years break, lived there, and became the first model village in Andhra Pradesh state. I became, of course, I've been part of the Thai ecosystem, helped a lot of startups, sold companies, and today I'm still trying to build something. I actually took a 8 years break. I don't know how many people know this. So all I'm saying is entrepreneurship can give you that, and it will give you control over your own life, money, time, but you have to pay for it. But I can tell you one thing, everything happens for a reason, and I believe in it. Thank you. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, Manohar Reddy Garu. Fascinating to hear what you have to say. We have heard from all except for one, and everybody spoke about different industries, maybe primarily tech. But let's hear from OSS Reddy Garu, Prasad Garu, about the engineering and also other industries ecosystem and the startups. Please.
Hello. Good, better, best. Never let it rest till good become better, better the best. This is what human being is greedy about. This is what human being wants to go from good to the best. Necessity is the mother of invention, struggle for existence, and survival of the fittest. That necessity has made us to invent AI today. We have AI, we struggled a lot to get into existence, to get the acceptability, and now the tool is available to us. With AI at place, we have sky is the limit for startups to think. Information, communication, and transportation. These are the only things that are required to get any comfort and every comfort to the human being in this world. We have achieved a lot on the information. One click away, search engines are giving all the information that is available in this world. Communication. Old days, we used to take months together to get one drawing fixed and accepted. Today, across few people sitting together, huge, big, complicated drawings are getting accepted and being given for the construction. The only one place which our generation still not able to enjoy is the transportation. I prefer to go to New York in 2 hours' time. It's not possible. It is going to possible, perhaps, AI at place or any other tools that may come over the period of time. When Jay Garu was struggling for STPIs to establish, he didn't have a tool, internet in his hand properly. He struggled to get that internet, and somehow or other he managed to put STPIs at place. That time internet is a big thing. Today artificial intelligence is an acceptable tool. We never know after a couple of decades what would be other tools that are available. Research, lab, technology, all these things are going to become obsolete over a period of time. People like Einstein, Newton, during their time, what sort of labs they have? They have invented. Similarly, the startups, the young lads of 15 years, 16 years, 10 years, boys, will come out with the ideas which will be super duper useful for this society, surpassing all the research that is going to yield the results. So what I have to say is, startups today has got a lot of scope. Sky is the limit. Human comforts are so much at place. They are greedy. Today, I feel like not using the mic and talk. I think in my mind, and that should go to all the minds of you. And whatever you wanted to put a question, that should come back to me. And then reverse, I will answer. Those days will come. Perhaps our grandchildren may see that, if not we. With this, I say that in engineering field, day in, day out, the moment we start the unit, every activity, every procedure, everything is a challenge, and we have to have some idea to put in there. That is a startup idea for that hour, for that technician. So startup is order of the day. Startups are unlimited scope. AI at its place will take the startup ideas to the skies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Some time ago, 6 months ago, Kathy Woods is one of the, some of you know, you can actually get on YouTube. She made this comment that the world economy, which is roughly around $100 trillion today, can grow to $240 trillion by 2040. And most of that growth is going to happen through the companies that do not exist. That means she's referring to the startup ecosystem. And also even some of the industries, the way we look at them today may not exactly be the same, and some new industries may come up. So from that perspective, there is a great opportunity for everybody. And ISF, J. Chaudhary Garu, with all of your effort, I think everything that we talked about, I think this journey is not going to end with this panel discussion, but what ISF is doing, it is taking all of these discussions into reality, and it's going to continue. So So from that perspective, it is actually contributing tremendously to the entire the startup ecosystem. And I would like to thank Jay Chaudhary Garu on all of our behalf for giving us this opportunity, and also on all of your behalf as well. So thank you. And with that, I know Jyoti has been cautioning me, your time is over, your time is over. There's one question. Should we take that question?
Yeah, please
Okay,
go on.
Please. Please. My mic is not on.
My name is Ramakant. I just want to ask only one simple question. What is the infant mortality today in startups? Number one. And what is the single most panacea, single most important solution, medicine that you can offer for increasing this infant mortality? This is in the interest of all the startups around here. Thank you very much.
Infant mortality. Anybody from the healthcare background? Go ahead.
Sorry, I snatched the mic. Any other people want? I am just talking about startup. Infant mortality of startup. The main reason why there is a failure of lot of startups is the intention to start. If you start a company that I need to earn money, rather than following what you are expert in it, what your heart says, that is the biggest failure, starting failure. Second is, when you want to be an entrepreneur, you should be ready to have the journey. The organization is like a young baby. From the day one, you have to nurture it till it reaches the age of 18, legal age, because after that, it takes care of you. So this is what everybody should, follow. That's my advice.
I think to me, commenting further on that.
Just to add, if I may add, the second part of the question are, what are the things that we can do? I think, it's always lonely when you're a startup entrepreneur. And just the sheer community here, everyone is ready to volunteer. And one, I would say seek help. There's nothing wrong. They don't shy away from asking help. That's humility when you ask for help. Second is being flexible. I think the moment a startup thinks that you know it all, that's a sign of failure. How adaptable we are, how quickly we can be flexible and evolve, I think that's another key to a long-term journey.
Thank you. The general statistics are out of every 10 startups, 2 succeed tremendously, 8 others take a little bit longer time if they persist. But the startups started by 50 and above are generally seem to be a lot more successful than the startups who were started by the younger. So all the people who are 50 and above, you have a better opportunity.
So the answer to the second part of Ramakant's question is frugality. Startups have to have a strict discipline, and startups need to have an accountability of how much they are spending, how much and how much of runway that they have left. So if you run a startup with a good plan and frugally right, then the mortality is something that we can address significantly.
Thank you, Ravi. With that, before Jyoti comes and pulls us out, I would like to get up and thank everybody once again and appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you all our panelists. It was really hard task, but you did it well. You were able to retain so many people, so much of audience are still there in the hall during lunch hour. So saying that, I request Jay Garu to be coming on dais. While mementos are given, right? Quick question. I know that our attention span is very less. We don't listen well, so let me check if we have 1 or 2 points from audience. What did you hear in CXO Roundtable? Padma, can you please help with Mike? Any 1 or 2 things that you understood from session? I see multiple hands are raising. Yeah. Padma, please continue while this is going on. Takeaways. This is test for all our audience, right? Please.
Thanks to everyone, including Ravi, Nimagada, all the folks there. So the key takeaway is never say die, okay? whether you temporarily not succeed or you succeed too much, everything is an experience, right? These are all pearls of wisdom which should be a part of your the total necklace, okay? And that's the most important thing.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I think the key takeaway was let's start bringing in more employers and not only breeding employees here in India. So way to go, team. Yeah.
There is a say what Alibaba says that first you work and then you be a startup. That is the one takeaway where one of our panel discussion members, they were saying that he was first working. Whenever he fails, he used to go back and do a job, and later on he used to again come back to the startup. And the second takeaway was Ratan Tata ji always says that if you have an opportunity, take the project and then start thinking on how to implement it. So that is another idea where if you have a passion and if you know the subject knowledge, your navigation is much smoother to your goals. So these are the two takeaways, and have a passion, be customer-centric, be loyal, be sympathetic, empathy, and honest, and be apology when there is a mistake. And in an ego word, take out with the E, the life is very cooler.
Amazing, amazing. Sanjeev Garu, you did great job, and all panelists. I see a lot of points coming out from our audience. So now I'll give an offer that you cannot reject after lunch, right? I know many people would think like, let's have lunch and go. No, let me give this offer. So what we have after lunch is we will have a discussion with Gaurav and Apur. Now, one who raised $100 million, okay? Other person who sold company for $100 million. Both are very important, so it's very important for startups, investors, everybody to be here at 2 o'clock. Let's have Fireside chat with Apurva and Gaurav. After that, we have a unicorn roundtable. This is dream of Jay Chaudhary Garu. We all need to invest on unicorns. This is our future, so you don't have option to skip it. So please come back. I'm cutting down your lunch time, but it is worth. Thank you, everyone. See you at 2 o'clock.